What is going on, everybody? This is the Georgia Postgame Overreaction Show. You know how we do it. We are here live on YouTube and Facebook for you guys and you guys only. We want to hear from you guys after this big win for Georgia, 34-7. Trent, I'm going to start off with your initial thoughts so I can get this tweeted out to everybody. It looks like you got a basketball game going on in the background. Looks like some fun. But 34-7, Georgia walks out of Jacksonville a winner. Initial thoughts. Let me get this tweeted out. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the defense looked stellar again. I mean, they were dominant. I know they gave up some yards in the second half. There wasn't much stunts, twists. You know, they didn't do much in the second half as far as other than playing base defense. But I thought the defense was stellar in the first half. It was really it really made that. I guess Florida fans been wanting AR at quarterback all week, and it kind of turned on them because this probably was not the start to kind of light the fire with him in going against the number one defense in the country, and Georgia made him pay. Jacoby Dean's pick, Nolan Smith's pick, Nolan Smith's fumble, all that happened in the second quarter. It was 3-0 game. It very well could have been 3-0 going in the half if the guy doesn't bring Stetson Bennett's interception out of the end zone.
Yeah, that was weird, man. That was really weird.
If he keeps that in the end zone, gets a touchback, we're probably looking at a 3-0 game going in the half, and it's anybody's game. But I thought offensively it was a less than stellar day. I think the rushing game was okay. I think Georgia up front is a lot better on the line of scrimmage in run blocking than it is pass blocking, for sure. I think that's the reason why Stetson's in, but I still think you need to reevaluate that position even after this performance and see where they need to go, have another week of competition because you have a couple. I counted three, and I know, and I had a fourth one that was kind of borderline. He threw the 2 interceptions in the double coverage. He threw another ball in the first half in the double coverage that could have been intercepted. And then he rolled out and threw the ball to Brock Bowers on the sidelines that was almost picked off on the tip, but that ball should probably be thrown out of bounds. So, make those throws. Once you get to the playoffs, Georgia's looking like they're going to make the playoffs for the SEC championship. If they go 12-0 and get past the SEC championship, they're going to be in the playoffs. You can't make that throw in the SEC championship. You can't make those throws in the playoffs, or it's going to come back to haunt you.
Real quick, Ben, your kind of initial thoughts. We're going to dive deep into the game, guys. Also, if you want to join us, super easy. The link is in the YouTube. What do you call that thing? What do you call that underneath the video?
Chat.
Yeah, whatever. It's in the chat. Join us. It's in the link in the description. It's on the show. Lord have mercy. It's been a long day. Long Braves game last night. Another one coming up tonight, guys. But it's in the description. Click the link, join up. You can join with video or without. We'd love to see you if you're at a tailgate down in Jacksonville. I'm sure it's probably going crazy right now. We'd love to see your setup. You can come on live with us. Or if you don't want to, you're a little camera shy, there's an audio-only version so we can get your takes as well. So, Ben, real quick, initial thoughts, man. I think Trent kind of summed it up really well. Want to hear yours, though.
I think the defense was lights out. I think that the key thing for offense was all across the board was really inconsistent. I think that the offensive line was inconsistent. There were drives where I was like, they were mowing guys over and they had good pass protection, and they would have other drives where they were missing protections. You had safeties coming down in the box and making plays. So it was one of those deals where I just think the offense was so inconsistent, especially Stetson. Stetson had the big touchdown to Kieris, had a couple nice throws to Darnell. And he was kind of streaky in this game. He was off and on. He had 3 or 4 really bad deep balls, got picked twice. Actually, the one deep ball, when you think of it, that got picked actually helped. That got picked at the one. It ended up helping somehow. Yeah. But the defense overall, I think there's a case, and I wanted to actually bring this up later on, is who's the best player on Georgia's team and defense. I think this year it's Nakobe Dean. I think he actually I understand Jordan Davis. Everyone wants to say it. I think Nakobe Dean is the best player on Georgia. Talent, maybe Jalen Carter, but Nakobe Dean was amazing today. And I just think that secondary, the one thing why I was confident why Georgia would win is Florida's receivers cannot win one-on-one. Florida, I don't remember Florida's receivers winning one-on-one once on Ringo and Kendrick. They just can't get open and get separation like last year, which is why I thought Georgia was going to win this game because they cannot be explosive in the passing game. And Georgia just locked them down. The secondary is the unsung hero of today because they didn't let anything up.
Trent, you had a point you were going to make there?
Yeah, but I was going to say, I know Stetson's throw ended up being something good, but both his interceptions were on first down throws. Those, if that's on a third down throw, yeah, that's probably working in Georgia's favor, and it ultimately worked in Georgia's favor. But you don't make those throws on first down. You throw the ball. If it's not open, you throw the ball out of bounds, and you get two more downs. So I that's the only question marks with them being first down throws. I think you gotta, you can't just force it. You just throw it out of bounds, go to the next play.
Yeah. I kind of feel the same way. Let's see. We've got some guys in the chat so far. Logan says, "Go Dawgs." Said, "I went to the game. He was there at the game. Congratulations, Logan. Hope you had a good time." This is going to be a question, guys, we're going to see a lot throughout the chat, throughout the evening. Here it is, guys. Why do we not see JT today? I don't know if we're going to have an answer for that until after Kirby's press conference. I'm sure he's going to get asked that, Trent, at some point.
I think when you went into the half 24-0, JT's injury is an injury that is going to linger some, and you don't want to risk being up 24-0. You don't want to bring him in a blowout game and risk aggravating that. The time to play him would have been 3-0, early in the first half. I think when you get that big lead, there's no need to play him and risk aggravating that injury and move on to next week. Have that competition, during the week. You're facing the best defense in the country at practice every week. So have that. I think it's got to be an open competition again. I don't think Stetson can be the number one starter coming out of this game.
There's a lot of people, though, that do think Stetson should be the starter. Ben, I know that you are on the train of JT, and why? And I'm not trying to take what I'm going to do here for all of you guys watching is I'm really going to try to not take a side in this. I think I have a side in this. Who should be the quarterback? I'm going to try my best to not take a side and hold as many people. Just let them have their opinions, kind of play devil's advocate, if you will, for everybody that comes in. Because we're going to have Dane Young, I'm sure, is going to join us. Blaine's going to join us. Roddy's going to join us at some point. Anthony Dasher's going to join us. Everybody's going to join us. And everybody has a different opinion on this. So what I'm going to do, just moving forward, I'm not going to put an opinion out there on who should be Georgia's starting quarterback. Instead, I'm going to just play devil's advocate. Ben, you might not like that. But what I'm going to do is play devil's advocate on this. So, Ben, I know you're a JT guy, and there's good reason to be. Why?
Well, I think it's just decision making. Like, I think they both have pros and cons. I don't actually think it's a clear decision. Like, I don't think one's so superior or else there wouldn't be a debate. I just think when it comes to Stetson, and I actually talked about it with you guys last night, last year when he threw interceptions against Alabama, Kentucky, and Florida, he could never, and I know Florida partially was an injury, so I'll give him that. He can never get back in rhythm, and his confidence, you could just tell, was gone. That's my issue, is his decision-making. I think Stetson's a better athlete. I think he runs a really efficient offense when it's on. So and he helps the run game significantly. I think the run game since he's been has been a lot better. I know today it was off and on at times. So I understand that argument, but I just think JT is more efficient as a passer, more consistent, and he doesn't turn the ball over as much, which is why I would go with JT. I don't think JT has this crazy first-round pick type arm and everything, because if he would, he would be like Mac Jones. I think the injuries have derailed him a bit. But I think just the consistency and the decision-making is the main reason I take JT, because that's what's cost Georgia last year in games, was the decision-making and the consistency. And I think JT is more consistent and better making decisions.
Trent, here's a comment coming in from 4-Leaf Clover 1980. Says Stetson gives us the best option to extend plays. JT gives us a better downfield option and better decision-making. I think he kind of summed it up right there. You saw it today, Trent. There was a couple plays where Stetson – I was texting a couple of my buddies, right, lifelong Georgia fans, and we're chatting. I said, JT's not making that play. it was a blown play, right? Where Stetson went to hand the ball off and he had to roll out to the other side. He got the first down. JT's not making that play. The other play where it's like a 30-yard run where Stetson was getting chased in the backfield, and then he made, chicken stew out of chicken, and gained about 25 yards. I don't know. I think it was, what was it? Let's see here. Longest run of the day was 20 yards, so that had to be it. He gained 20 yards on that. JT's not making that play. On the contrary, I don't know if JT is underthrowing that ball late in the game right there where Rashad Torrance intercepts it. So, Trent, it's kind of one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. And it's going to be one of those things that unless Kirby Smart plays this perfectly, it's going to be questioned. And I don't know if that's fair to Kirby or not. They see all the practice, but it's going to be a question moving forward regardless, because both those guys, like Ben said, have their certain skill sets. At the same time, though, I would say literally probably 85% of the fan base wants to see JT as the starting quarterback. You have 15% who's like, let's roll with the hot hand with Stetson, but where are we at, Trent? Break it down for me, man.
I mean, here's the thing. I think Stetson does improve the running game, but the problem is you're eventually going to start seeing, and you saw a little bit up today, especially in the first half, Florida started creeping. They started putting them 8 defenders in the box, similar to how they had Jake Fromm a couple years ago, and where they had 8 guys in the box. It makes it tough to run, and you're going to have to they're daring you to beat them with the beat, and they're rolling the safety. Stetson wasn't reading the safety. They were rolling the safety, and you got to be able to. Yes, the running game is better, but here's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
When Stetson Bennett's been at quarterback up into this game, he's the offense has passed the ball 99 times and rushed it 164. That's almost basically like 35-65 pass run. When JT's in the game, 80 passes, 65 rushes. So I mean, what do you yes, the running game helps out, but what's going to happen when you roll down that defender and the run starts getting knocked out? Yes, Stetson had a couple rollouts. He had a couple nice throws on dump off throws. He had a nice throw to James Cook. James Cook cutting back to the middle, but you got to be able to stretch defenses. You got to be able to keep them honest. And yes, Stetson's going to improve the running game. Stetson made some plays with his legs. But ultimately, is there going to come a time when Georgia's down and you have to be able to throw the ball downfield? And I think there is going to be a time because Ohio State and Alabama can both put up points. I think that might be the only 2 teams that probably can challenge Georgia's defense to force Georgia's hand. But I think your safe bet with Stetson until you see those 2 teams. And what happens with those 2 teams, I'm not sure Ohio State's good enough in run defense to slow Georgia down, but you're going to have to pass the ball downfield eventually.
One good thing I saw, guys, I'm going to add this into the stream here. This is the stats from today's game is, here you go, Trent. Trent is 100. There you go. 100% spot on with that from Amari Carmichael. Here's one thing I noticed, guys. 5.8 yards. Oh, you can't see it. All right, I'm going to put it right here. 5.8 yards a rush, 193 yards on the ground for Georgia. Zamir White got going, man, and he really added on right there at the end with that 42-yard touchdown. Is this concerning? We haven't talked much about this. We touched on it a little bit right before the show, Trent, real quick. Is this number is that number concerning there? 355 yards for Florida, 354 for Georgia. I would assume, I'm not a statistician, Dave will be on with us later, Dave McMahon. I would assume this is the first game this year Georgia has been outpaced total yards wise. But at the same token, a lot of that came in garbage time, right, Trent?
I'm trying to look at it. You don't have is that just a screenshot?
No, I got it. What do you want to look at? I can bring up whatever you want.
Go
man.
down and look at the last 3 drives. I guarantee out of those 300.
Okay, hold on. You're gonna have to talk a little bit here. Let me pull that up here. Okay, let me pull the drives.
One point, Paul, I want to bring up real quick was the first offensive drive when it was. I thought that the play calling on 3rd and 1, that pass call, I thought if you thought it was 4 down territory, why not run it on 3rd down? That's one of my gripes with people. Oh, we're going to throw it because it's no. Why don't you run it? Because you're going to have a second chance to run for 1 yard. I didn't.
Are you talking about early in the? You're talking about early in the game.
The first offensive drive when Jordan missed the field goal, they initially had it 3rd and 1, and then it was intentional grounding. But I thought they should have ran it on 3rd and 1, or at least do something real quick out in the flats. Try something like that. Because I've seen in modern football today, they give you those 3 yards on those little curl routes, on the little drags. I mean, today I've seen where teams are just playing so far back because they're scared of the explosive play, and they're just giving you 3 yards every play. You probably would have had one of those. It was quick. It was kind of a long drag-out pass play, and it didn't work. I didn't understand that play call, and then you miss a field goal, or else you would have scored, obviously, another 3 points. And I think that drive really kind of hurt the momentum Georgia had because they were doing really well in that drive, and that just kind of stalled it. That 3rd down play call to me stalled the offense.
There's your last 3 drives. I pulled it up for you, bud. So for Florida,
89, 50, and 43.
89, 50, and 43. So
I mean, there's 139, 179, 182 yards of their 350. So I mean, really, it looked like Georgia kind of went to a more. That's what I was talking about earlier. It kind of went to a more conservative approach. There wasn't much stunting. There wasn't much, blitzing. And I think at that point, Georgia was trying to keep everything in front of them, let the clock keep running. But I did see some things as far as some zone coverage that Ringo should have came down on, not allowing the yards after catch that they got.
Are you talking about the one play where Kirby ripped him out, gave him a chewing 6 feet off of the sidelines there? That was pretty wild.
Yeah, that was wild. And it looked like Ringo was saying that
Brinny should have been.
Yeah, and I don't know what coverage they were in there. If it is cover 3, I'm not sure that's. I don't, like I said, I don't know what coverage is called there. But if it's cover 3, you don't want to get beat on a deep route right there. But like a corner or something. But still, I think Georgia, kind of relaxed a little on defense. Played a lot of defense in front of them. But I thought in the first half, what really showed was their aggressiveness. Their, and the announcers talked about it, just their overall pursuit to the football. It's just amazing to watch. When a guy gets the ball, there's literally 6 Georgia helmets around the ball at all times, and that's just. It's a fun defense to watch. It don't matter what team you cheer for. It don't matter what team you follow. Georgia's a fun defense to watch. Watching N'Kobe fly around, watching Quay fly around, watching Channing Tindall fly around, watching watching Trayvon Walker drop back in coverage and tip a pass, and then the outside linebacker who usually rushing pick it off. They're just fun. They're fun to watch, and I think Kirby pretty much summed it up after the game and said. They're fun. They're not only fun to watch in the game, they're fun to watch in practice just because of their want to and they're hungry to come and practice every day. And you don't find that a lot in these teams, especially guys that opted to come back for their senior years like Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, and guys like that, and still being hungry to play every day. And, providing that leadership that these younger guys like Keely Ringo and these guys need.
We got a comment here from Jeff Dyer says, LOL with these comments. You would think the Dogs lost. It's a great thing we got going. Enjoy it, folks. Jeff, this is the post-game overreaction show, man. This is what this is. You're supposed to overreact. We're not here to talk, crazy. We are here to talk crazy. We're here to overreact about the game. And so that's what it is. Jeff, though, great game for the Dogs, obviously. No taking away from that. That's not what we're trying to do here. 34-7 against Florida in Jacksonville is a huge accomplishment. I don't care if it's against. I don't care if the Gators hadn't won a game all season. This game means something to both teams, no matter what goes on down there. And Georgia stepped away almost. We saw it on the screen on CBS. 417 games in a row where Florida had scored. They were this close to snapping that streak. Georgia was, and keeping them out of there.
This is the stats I look more into. You look when you're judging a defense, how they played. You look at third down conversions. Florida was 4 of 13. You look at red zone defense. Florida was 1 of 3 in the red zone, and that one came with 3-4 minutes to go. Florida was 2 of 4 on fourth downs. They averaged 5 yards per pass. Georgia averaged over 8 yards per pass. You look at the more in-depth stats, and Georgia was dominant again, although they were had one less yard on offense. But I think a lot of that was due to the garbage time. But it was a dominating. When Georgia got up, I think it was 17-0. There was little doubt before the Nakobe pick. There was little doubt in a lot of people's mind that this game was over. Florida wasn't moving the ball. Florida couldn't sustain drives. This game was over. And Georgia is going to have that each and every week. If they can get up 17-0 in the first half, most games are going to be over because this defense is just that elite. And if Georgia hasn't played from behind except for I think one time in the Kentucky game, if Georgia ever gets down 10, that is the concerning part of the quarterback play. I think they have to have better quarterback play, more consistent quarterback play, that is. And I don't know, is JT the answer? Is Stetson the answer? Is Brock Vandegrift the answer? I don't know who the answer is, but they got to find the answer.
And Jeff wasn't hating on you there, Jeff. I see you, so it told me to chill out. All good, man.
Wait,
Ben, go ahead.
I want to place a bet. Do you think Roddy's going to say the score was closer? Because he always says this, that the score is closer than what the box score and the final score said. Didn't the game feel closer? He said that every week outside of Arkansas. So I know that's bound to happen when he comes in here. So just for people who are watching, he's going to say that. So don't be surprised. But I actually think
stop overreacting.
Yeah, he is Larry Munson Jr. But that game, I think Georgia was still clearly the better team. Not to say we're nitpicking, because I truly have this belief only 3 teams can win a national championship this year: Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. I'm sorry, I love Caleb Williams, but their team as a whole is not good enough. They're just not. So there's 3 teams, and if Georgia wants to reach a national championship, they need better quarterback play. That's why you nitpick it, and they need more consistent play calling and offensive line play as well. And I think they need George Pickens. I really do believe they need an outside wide receiver that they can consistently go to. I don't think the receivers have played bad, but they need a guy that they can consistently go to, and George Pickens is that guy. And also, I think they need to feature Bowers more. Your favorite player of all time, Paul. I think they need to feature him because every time they get him the ball, he makes something happen. And they should do more of those screens.
I think Darnell and Brock should be getting at least 5 or 6 targets a game.
How much money on that 32-yard reception from Darnell Washington? How much money would it take for either one of you guys to be the one to stand in front of him and try to tackle him there at the end? Because he was rolling. He looked like, if you could picture thunder in a person, he looked like just a thunder rolling down the field. How much money would it take for you to be that safety that's like, oh my God, here he comes. He's got momentum. What number? $500? Would you go in there for $500?
I am not going in there at all.
No. Depends on how desperate I am for money.
Yeah.
I remember what he did to Dan Jackson in the spring game. I ain't going in there.
I do too. And Dan Jackson's pretty damn good. We've got some comments coming in.
Did Dan Jackson play today? I never saw him on the field.
I don't know.
It was the least amount he's played for sure.
Yeah, it definitely was. Let's see. Defense, Dan Jackson.
He played a lot versus Clemson. That's one of the most surprising things of the season was how much he played against Clemson. That's shocking.
And Georgia rolled out a lot of dime packages, but I don't think they played as much dime today because of the QB threat to run. I think they played a lot of they spied Nakobe a good bit on the quarterback when he wasn't rushing, or they spied Quay.
I don't see him here registering a tackle. That's not to say that he didn't. I don't have the official participant chart. I'm sure he played some on special teams, obviously. But in terms of registering a tackle, he did not. EJ Clayton is saying he played a little bit. I saw him at the end. Thank you,
a lot of those guys got in at the end because you saw the second team D-line, the second team linebackers. MJ Sherman
was in there at linebacker.
Yeah, MJ was in. There was the second team was in.
I put this on Twitter. I didn't know that he went this crazy, but he did. Quay Walker, 13 tackles, 7 solo tackles, half tackle for a loss, 2 QB hurries. And then right behind him, of course, Lewis is up there and Nakobe. Nakobe had a hell of a game.
The last 2 weeks, Quay Walker's made a lot of money. He is through the first 5 or 6 games, I thought Channing Tindall was probably Georgia's second best linebacker behind Nakobe. Quay Walker's proved himself the last 2 weeks, no doubt about it.
Let's see who else on this Georgia defense stood out. Obviously, Channing Tindall had a great game. Keeley, I thought, had a pretty decent game. One guy,
2 sacks.
Let's see here, total sacks. Yep, 2. You had.
I think the guy nobody talks about is Kendrick. Kendrick's only allowed 5 catches on the season. His passer rating when thrown towards is like the best in the country, and nobody wants to talk about that. He's been. I remember Clemson fans, and maybe it's because they're like, oh, this guy left to go to Georgia, so he sucks. Clemson fans are really down on, like, when he went to Georgia. They're like, oh, look at him against Ohio State. He's nothing. And this year he's been as good as any corner in the country.
I actually had, and I believe it was an Alabama fan in my Twitter mentions today, tell me that Georgia was bad in the secondary because they were made up of all transfers.
Really?
That I don't think he realizes that the one and only transfer is Darian Kendrick that's playing, and then you have Lewis Seen, who could be a first-round pick, and you have Darian Kendrick, who's going to be a first or second round, third-round pick. He's going to be up there, and then you got Keely Ringo, who is a 5-star freshman. So I don't and then you have a hard-hitting Latavius Brini at the nickel.
Nolan Smith, somebody said it in the chat, guys. I'll put our faces back up here in a second. Nolan Smith had a heck of a game with the interception and also the forced fumble, guys. That was
a great play.
So, yeah, it was a great play. And the reason is that rules kind of changed this year. So normally they'd kind of blow that dead, but they're allowing the offensive line to push guys forward now. And it didn't work out. Normally, I would say, 99% of the time that works out in the offense's favor. They always get more yards. It never seems like the ball comes out in those situations.
It happened twice today.
Yeah, but it just so happened. Yeah, it just so happened. We saw it a couple times today. You don't see it that often. Great play by Nolan right there. Appreciate you, Joe Moore, for shouting out Nolan Smith.
I think that was Richardson's got to have 2 hands on the ball. He was trying to run through there with 1 hand on the ball, and Nolan just said, give me that.
What do you think? Was this reminiscent of Mark Richt throwing Fatone Bauta out there?
No, I don't think so.
Dan Mullen throwing Anthony Richardson out there. Like, this was like his last hope to maybe save something. Like, I guess what I'm getting at is Dan Mullen's job in jeopardy? He's 4-4. He's 8-7 since he last played Georgia. Like, is this one of those things where is Dan Mullen now in jeopardy? His recruiting class looks terrible. He's losing guys by the day. Where does Florida go from here?
I think next year, I don't think they're going to fire him this year. Well, here's the thing that nobody wants to talk about with Dan Mullen is he was shopping himself around in the offseason to the Jets and I believe another NFL team. I think it was the Bears. He was trying to get an NFL job. When you say, and his agent's putting out he wants to interview for NFL jobs, like publicly, and he wants to interview and go. That's telling recruits, like, this guy wants to make the leap to the NFL. Where other coaches, like, I think Kirby, unless the job was like the Dallas Cowboys or something, he probably would not leave. And that with some of these coaches, that's going to hurt you in recruiting. And then I also think this year, because last year they're going to say it was a good year for him. The year before, consistently been top 25. I don't think one bad year is going to get him fired. I think if he has another bad year, he's gone. I think they're going to.
But here's the thing, Ben. His recruiting classes aren't getting any better, and his players are leaving. They're all juniors and seniors.
I agree. I agree. I think that they've peaked under him, and that's not a homer thing. I think they have because the talent gap between Georgia and Florida is getting wider, and if Georgia gets good quarterback play, Florida will not be able to compete with Georgia. They just simply are not. They're not. Have you looked at their offensive line recruiting? And the guys are about to land. These guys aren't even in the top 1,000, and you're trying to compete with like Bear and those guys. Like, you stand no chance. You're gonna get clobbered. So, I think Dan Mullen, definitely. I think he's in his last 2 years at Florida. I do. I don't think this is his last year though. I just don't think they're gonna fire him.
So Trent, kind of same question to you. Do you think this was the turning point for Florida's offensive guru, Dan Mullen, with the AD. Was this the turning point, or is there still some more slack there for him?
Now, I don't think throwing AR out there is similar to Tom Balta, because AR actually has played good throughout the season, and he's probably in game. He's probably looked better than Emory, but he makes $400,000 more than Kirby a year. I think.
Really?
I think he makes 7.5 and Kirby makes 7.1 as their base salary.
7.5 for Dan Mullen? Oh, my God.
I think you have to take a long look. I do believe this is the year where he's going to have to fire some assistants to kind of be his, out there. Then I think next year is the year that's going to tell. And it doesn't look good on the recruiting trail. It doesn't look good for what he has as far as freshman, sophomore. I think Dexter is a sophomore maybe, and freshman, sophomore, and he's something to look at. Elam is a good player, but your depth's not getting any better. And when I looked at their depth chart before the game while I was doing the PFF matchup, you saw a lot of guys. The backup outside linebacker, also the backup inside linebacker, the backup star, also the backup safety, and they have no depth. And it's a lot to do with the recruiting. They're going to have to hit in the transfer portal, or they're going to be in big trouble next year. And Dan Mullen's going to be looking for a job.
Actually, looking at the roster, and Paul, wait, hold on.
I got you unmuted. Yeah, you got a little echo, so I just
okay. I was going to say, they're very senior. Like they have a lot of fifth-year guys. They're actually a really experienced team, especially on defense. They're going to lose most of their defense next year. Elam's probably their best player.
They're probably going to lose Grantham too.
Yeah,
I
don't know if that's. I think that's going to be an upgrade, but getting rid of them. But that's one thing where, and I remember telling you, Paul, before the year when we were talking about recruiting with Michael Williams, I said, watch him not just because he's going to visit Georgia and all, because USC's coach is on the hot seat. If Dan Mullen enters the year in the hot seat, that's going to be recruited against him. That's another thing people are going to have to say. Look, Dan Mullen's look at how many Power 5 games he's lost. He's lost, what was it, 3 of his last 10 or
I think he's
7, something like that.
It's crazy, yeah. It's a crazy stat.
He's getting all this hot seat buzz, and he's going to enter the season as the one who they're like, if he doesn't win, he could get fired. You're not going to recruit well when you're on the hot seat. You're simply not. And he's not recruiting well as is. And depth chart and playing time should be an easy sell. For the amount of in-state Florida kids, I think he doesn't have a single top 20 recruit from the state of Florida who's committed to him. That's an embarrassment when you're in the SEC and the previous year you were a top 10 team for most of the year, and you can't do that. That's embarrassing on the trail. So I think that's one thing where he's going to enter next season on the hot seat most likely, and that's hard to recruit against. So like Trent said, he has to hit on the transfer portal. If he doesn't, they're screwed.
Looking back, since he beat beat Georgia last year in Jacksonville, he's beat Arkansas, he's beat Vanderbilt twice, he beat Kentucky, and he's beat Tennessee twice, and then he's beat Florida Atlantic and USF. He's lost to LSU, Alabama, Oklahoma, now Georgia, and all the other games. He's at LSU. He's also LSU twice. He's losing the big games. He's not winning any big games. Any big game he goes up, any ranked opponent, he hasn't beaten a ranked opponent. I think he's 0-6 against his last six ranked opponents.
He looked lost out there today. Dan Mullen looked lost.
The sign that got me when Richardson threw that interception at the end of the half, and it kind of took the camera to him, and he was smiling I saw that. I saw that. It's almost like he was forced to play Richardson from boosters or something, and he was like,
well, that's why I kind of brought up the whole Fatone Bauta thing, because Rick kind of was forced to play Bauta, right? And that's the only reason I brought up Richardson, was because it looked like you said, Trent, when after that happened, he was just he had this little grin on his face, man. I'm like, what? Your team is not playing.
Paul, do you remember when it was 4th and 11 and they went for it? I was so confused. When I saw a decision like that, I think they pulled a Tom Brady where they didn't know the down. I legitimately don't believe they knew what the down was. When it was 4th and 12 at the 34, and they threw, what are you doing there? I don't know how you justify that call, and it might have been 3-0 at the time. It was in the first half. I don't understand that call. Also,
yeah, I don't either.
Well,
we've got one of
their field
go
goal
ahead,
kicker. Their field goal kicker apparently has been terrible the last couple of weeks, and I think it was going to be a 47 or 46 yard field goal.
46.
So he had just missed a 51 yarder. I don't know. I think it was 10-0 at that time, but still, you gotta. He went with Richardson, and now Florida's probably looking at themselves like we don't have any quarterbacks. Probably similar to what Georgia fans are looking at. So,
Dubsa GA says, dig the intro song. We appreciate the intro song, man. You were the one that made it for us. We appreciate that so much. Barry Anderson, one of the longtime chatters, is in the chat, guys. What's up, Barry? We appreciate everybody putting comments in the chat. And if you guys want to join us, the link is in the description. You can either join us from your kick-ass tailgate down in Jacksonville with video.
You're right, Ben. It was 3-0 when they did that.
You can either join us at your kick-ass tailgate with video and audio, or if you just want to call into the show like we used to do before we switch programs, you can also call into the show. You just have to click the link and then do audio only, and we will get you on the show. So we would love to hear from you guys. Barry, you're asking some tough questions in the chat. He says, when will we see JT again? Guys, we're going to have Blaine Gilmer join us along with a host of other folks. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, Barry. So we are going to wait until we have somebody else in here that might have a differing opinion than Trent and Ben, that we can kind of bounce ideas back and forth off of each other. But I promise you, we will touch on JT again before the show is over.
Blaine's going to be coming on soon. That's a Stetson believer. So,
yeah, we got so RW Tyndall says, happy with the win today, but we better tighten up the offense for the SEC championship game in the college football playoff. Also, Samario Howard, we appreciate you watching, says he's watching from Georgia, thinks Georgia played their worst game of the season. Worst game of the season, 34-7 against Florida. He thinks it's the worst game of the season.
Worst offensive game of the season for sure. The defense, I don't know. It's and Clemson, Georgia didn't play good against Clemson as far as offense, but I think it was more of what they were. They never really attacked it downfield against Clemson the way Clemson was playing them. But I do think overall this is the worst offensive performance of the year. I thought run blocking was decent. I thought the running backs looked good. James Cook and Zamir White had good runs, but I thought overall the offense was pretty poor.
What about Clemson? Are you
got a friend?
Is that because that was week one? You're just going to pass that one off, or are you still saying they were worse than the Clemson game?
No, I mean I think Clemson, they had the defensive score. Of course, Georgia pretty much had defensive scores today. I mean, you took over at the 11-yard line. You had the pick six, so you're basically having 14 points off turnovers. And then they had the interception. What did that lead to points to? Was that 21 points? No, they got to kick the field goal. 17 points. So you had 17 points off turnovers today. So I mean, I thought the running game was okay. The running game, they did block well up front. They went back to that counter. I'm surprised. I mean, how do you not know how to stop a counter after LSU ran it 37 times last week against you and rush it down your throat? And LSU is like 106 nationally in rushing, and you still don't know how to stop it. It's not good.
Blaine Gilmer,
what's up?
Love the hat, man. Go Braves.
Oh yeah. Now it's time to turn, just like Trent over there, trying to turn the attention to the Braves now.
I know. It's a little. We got a couple minutes until that game starts, and then we lose all of our viewers, and you guys hang up and watch the Braves. But we've got you guys for just a little bit longer. So we've got Blaine Gilmer here. Blaine, initial thoughts. We do this every week. Initial thoughts on the game before we dive deep into some analytics with you and some overreactions, of course.
I mean, I just thought the defense did what Georgia's defense does. I mean, that was really impressive because people don't understand how, everybody I think loves to just bash on Dan Mullen because he does many, many awkward things to make himself a lightning rod for negative attention and negative press. But if you had to say, hey, give me somebody who's going to scheme up an offensive game plan, he's got to be on the short list of guys to do it. He's good at scheming things up. So I thought Georgia to be able to, him having a bye week before Georgia, of course, always makes it even more dangerous. But you could say that Dan Lanning and Kirby Smart, the defensive staff, matched it just as well. Offense, obviously, you have 3 turnovers. It doesn't matter who's playing what position. Kenny McIntosh throwing or fumbling, 2 bad decisions down the field, 3 turnovers, and you still win a game 34-7. I think you kind of got to take it. I think you got to kind of take the good and the bad from this game and realize that you just beat a Florida team 34-7 with 3 turnovers that pushed Alabama to the limit, that almost, realistically should have beat a good Kentucky team that I think Kentucky, I don't know what they're doing right now. Does anybody know the score against Mississippi State?
Trent's got like 17 TVs over there. He should have.
I don't know, but Matt Corral just got hurt in the Ole Miss game and it looked bad.
Really?
Just letting you guys know.
That's not good. Yeah, Kentucky's up 7-0 right now at halftime over Mississippi State, which if you remember Mississippi State, that's in Starkville. Mississippi State beat Texas A&M the week before they beat Alabama. So I just think that Georgia just handled a, relatively good football team, not a great football team, and they didn't play their best ball to do it. Stetson Bennett just came out in his press conference and said he knows he's got to play better in terms of his decision-making down the field. But I think in terms of what this offense is with the weapons that they have, they just have to improve on what they're doing. I don't think there's going to be wholesale drastic, changes in how this offense performs going forward. The defense and the special teams are the heart and soul of this football team.
And that's another area that's going to have to, you're going to have to knock down field goals. And I know he was 2 of 3 on field goals, but he still has that 1 per game, and that 1 per game can come back to cost you. Down the stretch. So Kentucky's up Mississippi State 7-0. It's beginning the second quarter.
If Kentucky wins their next 2 games, they're going to be 11-1. So that win's going to look really good for Georgia because they're going to finish inside the top 10 if they win their next 2 games. So people can say that Clemson, that win doesn't matter as much. Well, now Kentucky can look like as good of a win as any Alabama and Ohio State are going to have.
I think it doesn't matter what your wins look like now. If Georgia goes 12-0, they're in the playoffs no matter what happens in the SEC championship.
You cannot put Cincinnati in the playoff. I'm sorry. You just simply cannot. They do not look good enough.
Like garbage against Tulane today.
But I think their argument, they would have a logical argument saying, is it us or Oklahoma? Oklahoma's look terrible too.
I don't think you're going to have to worry about it. I'm just saying with Oklahoma, I don't think I think they've got 3 really tough games to close out the year, and I think they'll lose one of them. Maybe even that Bedlam game, because Oklahoma State, they really struggle offensively. You think Georgia struggles offensively? You go turn on an Oklahoma State game and watch. It looks like their quarterback's punting the ball half the time on 5-yard passes. So when you talk about Oklahoma State, if they can get any kind of offense going against a Oklahoma defense, their defense is very, very good.
Is he the long snapper too, bud?
Yeah. Hey, we've seen that before this year.
Guys, so here's Barry Anderson. He says, I don't see anybody beating the Dogs seriously. And then another comment from DB Dog 7 says, Blaine, so you think Georgia wins with Stet against Bama? I know. So I think that what's happened now is everybody's kind of looked over every game moving forward. Tennessee, I think they can put up points. I don't know if they can put up points against Georgia's defense. The rest of the games for Georgia looks pretty vanilla, though. And now everybody has their sights set on Georgia, crash course against Alabama. And everybody's sights are also set on who will be the quarterback at that time. We touched on it a little bit, Blaine. We wanted to leave some meat on the bone for you guys as well. I told everybody when we first started that I was going to be just devil's advocate on this. I was not going to give my opinion on who could be the quarterback. I wanted to just get everybody else's opinions, not mine, because I want to be fair to the rest of you guys. So, Blaine,
overreact, Paul.
I maybe I will.
Your show.
I will.
Paul, you know what I think could be bold? I think Auburn could give Alabama a game at the end of the year.
Yes,
Auburn is beating Ole Miss 14-3 right now.
I think. Yes.
Corral was in on the first 2 drives. Auburn is not as bad as people think. If they beat A&M and Ole Miss, they're going to walk in with only 1 SEC loss to face Alabama. And Alabama's
it's at home. It's at home too.
Like people talk about Tennessee. Tennessee's defense is terrible. I think it's one of the worst in the SEC. I think they have a trash defense. So I think Georgia's going to be able to do whatever they want, whoever the quarterback is. You can put Brock out there as long as he knows the plays. I think he'll be able to put up points on Tennessee, at least 30 plus. So I'm not worried about Tennessee for that reason, even if they find a way to score because their defense is just bad. But Auburn, I don't think people that's another win that I think people are going to sleep on because they're a good team. So that's another pro for Stetson. He played really well against. That was a good team in my opinion. Auburn on the road.
It's not going to surprise me if Alabama hasn't been very successful playing in Jordan-Hare, and Alabama's not as good, obviously, on defense. They're going to have trouble with Auburn. It wouldn't surprise me to see Auburn be in the SEC championship.
They're going to have trouble with Bo Nix.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are saying, can Stetson Bennett beat Alabama? Well, Stetson Bennett might not have to beat Alabama. I mean, Stetson Bennett might be facing Auburn.
So here's I know it has just been an absolute just free for all on the vent for the last week and all this kind of stuff. And
I think it's going to continue. I think that's going to continue, Blaine. I don't know if that's going to go away.
That's great. That's great. We want everybody to share their opinions. Please do so civilly. That's wonderful. Let it continue.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm saying. Neither one, people are confused if they think that either one of the quarterbacks on Georgia's roster is some kind of first round NFL talent that is going to go play for 10 years and light up the league like a Justin Herbert or somebody that is not on this roster. So what you have to do, is you have to maximize what you have on hand. And right now they have a bunch of receivers that are good receivers, none that are elite receivers, except for Brock Bowers, who is elite. He's going to be an NFL talent every day if he remains healthy. I mean, he's going to be a very, very good player. They have running backs that are good college running backs that are not going to be NFL starters. You know what I'm saying? These guys aren't like the Georgia fan base, people who cover Georgia were spoiled by seeing Todd Gurley, who was a 5-year plus NFL starter, a Sony Michel, who was a big part of the New England Patriots winning the Super Bowl, several-year starter, Nick Chubb, who's maybe the best running back in the NFL. So that does not exist on this. So you have a bunch of – here's what people don't – there's PTSD out there from the Georgia fan base of saying, oh, well, something's going to go wrong eventually here. This defense is a better defense than Kirby Smart had in 2017. Top to bottom, there's probably in the first 22, there's probably 14 to 15 guys that are going to end up getting drafted. So when you have that and you have the amount of speed that you have, what you have to do is you have to find a way to be as efficient as possible on offense and avoid any kind of negative plays as possible. Now, Stetson cannot make those mistakes that he made decision-wise. But in terms of the added mobility that he brings, some of the plays he made with his legs, and the ability to change how people defend the run game, I think that's what he's going to be able to do. And I don't see any offense, Alabama or Ohio State, scoring more than 28 points on this defense, period. Unless you turn it over in your own territory and to do something crazy, I do not see anybody scoring more than 28 points. And I think Georgia's offense is I don't think Ohio State and Alabama's defense is anything to write home about. And I think Georgia can put up more than 28. So
here's one thought, and this might be where Georgia fans kind of feel a little frustration or feel a little anxiety, is because the past championship winners, right? So last year you had Mac Jones. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL. Year before that, Joe Burrow, he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. Year before that, Trevor Lawrence, he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. Tua, starting quarterback. Deshaun Watson was a starting quarterback. So I think that might be where some Georgia fans are, freaking out just a little bit, because you've seen in the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and I don't know who was Alabama's quarterback in 2016. O.J. Howard won the offensive award. Who was 2016? I can't remember.
I'm not even certain.
Wasn't it Hurts?
It might have been
Clemson one time. Wasn't it Hurts? I thought.
But also think about it this way too, Trent, and you know this. all interceptions are not created equal. Okay. When you throw a pick down at the goal line, okay, that is, I know it was first down, but that ends up being as good as a punt in terms of pinning them down deep. And then 3 plays later, you score. Not the worst thing in the world. The second one, he's up 27-0, probably got a little careless, throws it down the field, tries to just, hey, let's add a little icing on the cake here and overestimate something. When you get in trouble is when you're trying to throw a 5-yard out route, okay, or a hitch, and you boldly miss somebody and they break on it and go pick six other way, aka Anthony Richardson. Okay.
Yeah.
That's when not all interceptions and mistakes are created equal is what I'm saying. So, and before this game, there's not been one example throughout the year where you can say Stetson Bennett has done something in terms of just totally egregious, costing you a ball game. So and here's
hey, come join the post-game overreaction show.
Here's my little man making his appearance.
Hey.
Oh, Lord, here he comes.
Here
Okay,
comes.
so I'm going to mute my microphone. Y'all
Hey, man. Hey, I'm going to add Roddy in. So you go ahead and handle that, and you go watch the Braves, man, with your kids. How about that?
All right, I'll see you guys.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. We've got Roddy
You said
here.
Munson Jr.'s coming. Oh, yeah, there he is.
Roddy Nabolsi. What's going on, Roddy?
Not too much,
changed your
gentlemen. How
name
are y'all?
there. WLOCP. I like it. Can we say that? What is up with that? Like,
All right, so for our purposes, Rivals doesn't give a rat's behind what we do pretty much, and I'm the boss for UGASports. So the official title of this game is World's Largest Outdoor Cocktail Party, when so described by the folks in the anybody under Bull Moose Media down to UGASports, down to any of our affiliates and subsidiaries and contracted employees.
So that's the Georgia-Florida game, right?
What? I'm curious. What stopped that? I'm being genuinely curious. I don't know. Like, it just happened. What, a couple years ago?
No, yeah.
What's the whole reason behind
it was
that?
It was this PC rebranding garbage because they said that people come to the Georgia-Florida game and they drink because you call it the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, so they feel like they have to drink and get drunk. And then a couple people fell off of parking decks and died. So it's causing deaths. So no, it's dumbasses that can't handle their liquor, or drinking underage or falling to their death. And every death is tragic. But goddamn, some of that depends on you for being stupid. Don't drink and fall off a parking deck.
Is that why they closed the landing too?
No, the landing was just
the landing. Yeah,
bad.
the landing is a shit show.
And the whole thing's being remodeled. They made us park out in West Timbukland, because the lots that we were normally at, those are all being redone, and they took down the overpass. So there's a ton of construction down here. It was a giant cluster, as it usually is at this stadium.
Speaking of people jumping off, it wasn't so much jumping off, but I went down as a student when I was at Georgia, and you've got a little feedback, Roddy. I don't know what's going on, but but I went down as a student when I was at Georgia, and we were walking out of the stadium. I think Georgia had just won, and Florida fan was extremely intoxicated, walked into the street, got hit by a black Tahoe at about 20, 25 miles an hour. Black Tahoe backed up, went around, left old buddy in the road. About 10, 15 seconds later, he got up like nothing happened. So to give you guys an idea, if you've never gone to the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, there's jorts, there's jean shorts, there's crazy stuff happening, and then also guys getting hit by cars, miraculously 10 to 15 seconds later getting up, walking it off like nothing happened.
Kind of like Matt Corral just did. He got hit by a car, and he's back in the game.
So let's see here, Roddy.
Love it.
Yeah,
good job,
Roddy,
Matt.
We want to discuss this quarterback conversation with you. I'll add Ben back. He ran away and now he's back. So thank you for coming back, Ben. He says 1 second.
Wait, no. Is the echo still there, Paul?
No, I think you're good. I think it's Roddy a little bit, but you're fine.
No. I unplugged my mic. I think that might have been it.
All right. Well, all right, cool. Roddy, a lot of people want to talk about, obviously, and we haven't watched Kirby Smart's press conference yet, so I don't know if he addressed it or not in his press conference about JT and Stetson and the whole quarterback controversy, I guess, if you want to call it that. Georgia won 34-7 in Jackson. I mean, that's pretty damn good no matter who you have at quarterback. Stetson threw a couple interceptions. There's one there at the end that folks are going to remember, right? Even though Georgia was up big, that's going to be the one they remember because it was one of the last plays from him. Your take on this is?
Well, I mean, obviously the coaches want to lose. They have no idea what they're doing. We're all smarter than the coaches are. They're just idiots who apparently don't go to practice and can't see what's staring them in the face. That's my take on it. They're obviously morons. Or, hear me out here. They go to practice. They call the games according to what the talent they have. They know that there's some issues that we don't get to see that they're probably trying to. They're trying to hide. Sorry, can you hear me now?
It's Paul's internet. You're good. Keep talking.
Okay. Okay. I wasn't sure it was Paul. It was Paul. Yeah.
My internet is acting up, guys. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, but
you're frozen.
Paul's out for there. Yeah.
I can hear you.
You're at your house. Dude.
Am I good?
Buy some good internet. Now, thinking about it, I don't care one way or the other who the starting quarterback is. It doesn't matter.
I think I'm back. I'm back.
My God, Paul,
just relax.
Just mute your mic.
Yeah. I'm going to mute Paul, and I'll bring him back.
Wait, Ronnie, I have a quick question for you because this is a tradition. So, would you say that the game was closer than the box score? You said that every week, but Arkansas. You always say that. So, is that true?
I mean, were you comfortable in that first half?
At the end of the first half, yes.
No, that's not what I asked. Were you comfortable in that first half? Answer my question.
No,
you felt like Georgia was going to whip their tail.
No.
Yeah, that was what I was worried about. When people are like, why are you so down with this? Why are you so Munson-itis? Because that was the shit I was expecting to happen. Now, it turned around. 2 minutes, 9 seconds, you scored 21 points. That's fantastic. Bunch of turnovers.
Well, you only had Georgia winning by 10, right?
Florida. Yeah, I only had them winning by 10. You know, I thought they'd score 3 touchdowns. I didn't expect them to turn the ball over 3 times. You know, and the way they were moving it there for a while, there were some butts puckered in the stands. You know, there were some people getting nervous, like, what the hell's going on? Offense isn't looking good. They're moving the ball on the defense. This isn't good. But then you turn the ball over, and then you go and rip it away from them and put it back in the end zone, and then bang, 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 the game's out. The game was done in the first half. But if you expected to score 21 points in 2 minutes and 9 seconds, then you are an amazing person. That's what I was worried about. If that hadn't happened, which it did, which is fantastic, that was my fear of this stadium. I've seen this scenario too many times where you come in the stadium, you're expecting to blow them out, and you get the better team, and it just doesn't happen that way. They have 2 weeks off to prepare too. So they started picking on some things. They hit some of the soft spots. They went after some of the linebackers. You know, they know where your weak spots are. They watch tape and they kind of went after them, and it was effective for a while there. And then you just buried them. It's glorious if you're a Georgia fan. You just have to love that. It's like, oh, did you guys get some hope? Did you have some hope? No, there's no hope for you. And you rip the hope, and it's almost like you let them get real close, and then you just to make it hurt worse when you took it away from them. So the Georgia fans have to be excited about it. As for the whole quarterback thing, again, I don't have a dog in the fight. All I want is an accurate assessment. Okay. There's narratives that I believe are incorrect, and I only push back on those narratives. I don't care for it's Stetson or JT or one or the other. I don't make the decision. Coaches make the decision. My thing is they have so much more information than what we have. Why are they making this decision? And that's what I started asking. Instead of finding out who, because UGASports, we've been breaking the news before anybody on who's going to start. We've had that week after week after week. Nobody else has. Hell, this week we put it out, and all of a sudden everybody else knew. Wow, amazing. They had sources. But my point is now
his best friend.
Yeah. Now we're like, hey, why? Why is this the way it is? So we started getting some information. We found out some stuff that had been happening in practice. We shared it. You know, we've seen some of the self-scouting in the 2 weeks. We've shared some of that. There are issues there. And I do want to touch on those 2 interceptions. Those were 2 stupid calls, in my opinion. And again, you still can't throw the interception. But why are you throwing the ball? And why did you not run it on third and 1?
Yeah,
first drive. What
That's what I brought up earlier, Roddy. I said that threw off the offense the whole game. It's 3rd and 1, but this is the thing that confused me. If you're saying it's 4-down territory, run it the first time, because then you get another chance to get a yard. All you need is 1 yard. 2 attempts to get 1 yard rushing. You should be able to do that.
Exactly.
If you're not able to do that, what do you do? So that's why I said run it there. Or if you want to do a quick pass to the flat. Worst case scenario, it's a quick incompletion, or maybe you get the yard for a touchdown. Really quick throw. But it was like a long drag up. That didn't make sense. But one thing, Roddy, that I noticed, I never predicted that they would score 21 points in 2 minutes. The only reason I thought going to the game that something like that could happen is because Anthony Richardson, I put in my prediction. People keep saying, oh, he's great because he has this huge ceiling. I'll give him that. He's athletic. He's hard to tackle. Nobody wants to bring that up. Georgia was struggling to tackle him because he's big.
Georgia
tackled under pressure this year. Roddy, he is 3 of 11 for 3 interceptions under pressure. If you pressure him, he's terrible throwing the football when pressured.
But what happens when you pressure him?
Well, when you pressure, he's just thrown off because he's inexperienced.
But he doesn't stay pressured. He takes off running.
Yeah.
And he gashes you for huge yardage because now you've committed a defender to try to run him down. He's faster than your defender. He blows right past him or goes around the other side, and now he's 20 yards downfield because you didn't have contain on him. So you pick your poison. Do you pressure? Pressuring is not always a great philosophy against a quarterback like that.
Also, the pick six by Nakobe Dean, they threw a 2-yard pass. I think they would have been down at their own 47 with 14 seconds left or something, maybe even less than that. With only they would have 1 timeout left. I didn't understand that. That's why I don't understand these. I'm just going to dump it at this period of time. You're not going to get close enough. I didn't understand the play call or the decision making at all. But Nakobe Dean read that great. I got to give it to him. He jumped it. That was
a hell of a game. Yeah, and there were some other balls that could have been picked off. Dumas Johnson had one hit him right in the hands. There was 2 passes that could have been picked off today.
I'm telling you, if that pass, Keely Ringo knocked down Quay Walker's, that's going to the house. Quay Walker had that red from the start, that wheel route out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm. So that was the other one. And going back to some of the passes.
Dean dropped the pick. Dean also dropped another one.
Did he? See, there you go. See, there's a lot of them. And again, I was expecting them to kind of clean that up in the bye week. They didn't. They obviously messed it up. And I don't understand why Todd Monken called a pass on 1st and 10 on the 30. You just march down the field. Or that particular routes to the goal line there. Again, hey, it was picked off. You steal the ball. Nolan Smith steals the ball, and 3 plays later you score. That was a thing of beauty. But then the other one, you're up 24, and you're throwing to that corner route. I don't understand those. But again, it's windy down there. Sometimes the balls hang up, but those are 2 bad throws. But other than that, Stetson, that sidearm thing that he had to Brock was impressive. The throw back across his body to Kearis Jackson, not the long bomb to Kearis Jackson, but he threw one across the middle to him, going back across his body. Yeah. And he was running for his life. People want to argue with me about pass protection. I told you it was an issue, and you saw that today when they were tearing Georgia's pass protection up. Now, don't give me the thing about, he had all day to throw. When you only rush 4 and you have 5 blockers, that's not testing your pass protection. It's when they bring extra bodies, when they bring a blitz, that's when your pass protection fails. And, that's a lot of times when they're worried about can he run? That's one of the reasons they're going to stick with Stetson. I think they'll stick with him next week. I don't see him making a change.
Well, Roddy, are you really that torn between Stetson and JT, who you would start? Because we waited earlier. I said that JT has better decision-making, and I think he's more consistent throwing the ball.
How do you know?
What do you mean?
How do you know he has
better decision-making? How do I know? Because I've seen Stetson repetitively throw interceptions where I have not seen that from JT.
Okay.
Do you recall a game where JT's it's been whoa, he was terrible at this decision-making? Maybe he misses a throw here and there. Maybe he wasn't perfect, but his decision-making has been pretty good in almost every game. Maybe
I'm just saying,
Clemson was.
I'm just saying your decision-making is based on interceptions.
Also, he had way more passes that should have been. I mean, he had 2 or 3 balls also today that also could have been picked. Good, he had some overthrows. But with JT.
Oh, wait, he had overthrows. I didn't think he had a strong enough arm to overthrow anybody.
I don't think that's a problem. I don't think it's a problem with either guy. I think they have more than enough arm. I don't think they have cannons. I think in all of college football, I think Matt Corral is one of the only guys who has like a cannon. Like he could throw it 70. Like that's when you have like a crazy strong arm.
I think one of Stetson's issues on the deep pass is he waits too long to throw it.
Yeah.
And he had on the second pick down there, he had him open for a while, and he waited till the safety rolled to the coverage before he threw it. He had him open right from the start.
Yeah, don't throw it into double coverage like that, especially on a windy day where the ball hangs up a little bit. That's just not there. Again, my point is, we say he makes better decisions. To me, a lot of decision making is not measured by how many interceptions you throw. It's what play do you put the team into. When you go up there and you look at the defense, you look at the coverage. You're like, okay, this is what's going to happen. Maybe you send your guy in on a yo-yo motion to move, or you send your guy in motion, you bring him in, bring him out, or go all the way across to see who goes with him, to see how they adjust. What are they doing? You need to be able to figure that stuff out, and that is huge. They talk about JT's football IQ all the time. They say this guy is a genius. He knows what's going on. So maybe there he has a better IQ. Maybe he gets him into the best plays possible. Again, the problem is I don't know what the play that was called, and I don't know what he's getting them into, if that was the original play call or if he made an adjustment. So my point is I can't say he has better a better decision making. I just don't know. Now, to me, maybe it's the right decision, but bad execution. Maybe that's the reason JT should be in there. Again, I just don't know. So I'm going to tell you what I know and what I don't know. I don't know one way or the other who has the better decision-making process.
Roddy, would you say Stetson has a gunslinger mentality compared to JT? Would you say it? Because sometimes
JT's going to fling it, and that may be one of the reasons they don't want him in there instead of Stetson, because he's going to throw it. You're not on those RPOs. He's passing the ball. He's throwing it. He's chucking it down the field. He wants to throw it down the field. So,
yeah, because I brought up earlier, I think Georgia needs a go-to receiver. I think George Pickens needs to be back because that's clear. Like, I don't think these receivers are bad by any stretch. I just don't think they have a guy that stands out.
They're serviceable. They're absolutely serviceable. But
they're not. Like 2019, Georgia at receiver, that was bad. That was really bad. I mean, the play calling, that offense was terrible to watch. But you look at this year, I think that the play calling, even though it's been inconsistent at times, I think they don't have a real go-to guy outside of Brock, who me and Trent were saying earlier. You have to throw the ball more. You have to design more plays for Brock and Darnell because they've been consistent. They've been the most consistent guys getting open and being reliable. So that's why I think they need to scheme up more of those screens and those jet sweeps like they had versus Vanderbilt for Brock Bowers, because it's worked every time that they've done it to him. So that's one thing that I think Georgia needs to do better versus just trying to take shots with Ladd McConkey and A.D. Mitchell.
So this was my point earlier when your thing about the wide receivers. If you have George Pickens back, then to me, I can see you playing JT a lot more. He is a drop back guy to throw to elite receivers. But if you need to run play action, if you need to run RPO, you're running RPOs, you're rolling out, you're scrambling, and then you have to throw a sidearm pass to Brock Bowers, and you have to roll out and hit your tight end, Darnell Washington. That was a wild play. I'd really like to see us break that one down, because from the field level, you had no idea what the hell was going on. You're watching James Cook go one way, the offense roll a different way. Then, sure enough, he has it. Maybe that is when you bring in JT Daniels, when he has elite receivers, when he has his choice between George Pickens and Jermaine Burton. That's a different offense. Then maybe that's what he fits, and maybe that's what we'll see. I mean, I hate to say it, but when they always talk about who gives them the best chance to win, it's not just that one quarterback. It's also based on other personnel and other considerations like your offensive line, your tight ends, your running backs. When you had to run, look how many times that Stetson was running for his life tonight. Would you have felt comfortable seeing JT Daniels do that?
No, but one time I did see Brighton Cox screw up on contain, which I'm not shocked about if you watch the SEC championship game that one time.
So you see my point. But again, and maybe it's 51% versus 50%.
Yeah.
Maybe they're this close.
But Roddy, this is one thing that I think
know.
we could both agree on. Stetson, and we all agreed on this earlier, Stetson helps the running game. You just look at the numbers when Stetson's in versus JT. That's the argument right there. If you do the breakdown, like Georgia's rushing for 200 or close to 300 some versus Arkansas. They rushed for over, I think, 200 today. Like with JT, you weren't rushing for those yards.
Right. Having
a dual threat quarterback is going to help you in the run game. That's one of the big pros with Stetson, obviously.
Absolutely. Well, go back to that first series. They hand the ball off, and Brenton Cox comes crashing in from his spot. He did zero to worry about containment. He crashed in. He was the backside pursuit. He dropped the guy for, I think it was James Cook, whoever it was, dropped him at the line of scrimmage. Backside pursuit tackle. Now, if Stetson fakes that and rolls out, there's nobody there to stop him. He gets 35 yards. But point being, most teams, and you go back to that Auburn game where you see Stetson sitting there, and then he throws a little pass to Ladd McConkey. You're watching a safety just sit there, on the hash, looking into the backfield, not coming forward, not backing up, because if he backs up to go help out, Stetson's going to run. If he goes in, Stetson's going to throw it. He just basically, you have to account for the running quarterback, the guy who can take off. Now, that's not to say he's a great, huge running quarterback, but he is a threat, and you don't have that threat with JT. So the backside guys never come crashing in because he could just roll out. So I think it was Georgia, was it Vandy? Somebody terrible. They went for it on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 and got stoned both times. One of those was a backside pursuit tackle. You don't have that as much when you have a quarterback who is a threat to keep it. On those RPOs, all these plays or the play action, that he's not going to keep it himself, so you don't worry about it. And all of a sudden, the defense can cheat. And that's one of the reasons, again, a myriad of factors go into this quarterback decision. It's not just one or the other. I'm trying to explain it. Again, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I just want Georgia to win and our viewers, members of UGASports to be happy. To me, it's fun when Georgia wins. It's a hell of a lot worse when they lose, and people are mad. But I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't care. I'm trying to help people understand why they do what they do. Again, because we don't know. All right, Trent, I know you think – Trent, you watched the baseball game.
Kind of. I heard every word you said. I promise.
You lie. You're watching the game. You haven't paid a damn bit of attention.
No,
hey, let's bring on Dane.
Here's the thing: we don't see practice, and I think a lot of things is from our standpoint, or from a fan of our viewer standpoint, is we don't see practice, so we don't really know what goes on week in and week out. So, what is JT doing at practice? A lot of stuff came out of that Fields and Fromm situation. There's a lot of talk was Fields was struggling at practice, and and Fromm they were most comfortable with getting them into the right plays and doing stuff like that. So I think a lot comes down to how they perform in practice, and they're trying to make it ain't like Kirby's going out there and saying I'm trying to lose this game to Dan Mullen, but I'm going to throw my second string quarterback out there. I think he's wanting to win games, but
and here's the thing: that's the guy. You make a great point. That's the guy he's using to win today. What if by Tuesday of next week, if he thinks the other guy's going to give him a better chance, the other guy goes in?
Yeah. Who they got? Missouri? I think Jordan Davis could play quarterback next week.
That would be awesome.
Missouri is terrible. They are terrible. What was the score of their game with Vanderbilt today? Because it was like a 10-point game in the third quarter.
I think they won by 7. It's not good that the Braves are making a pitching change in the first inning. That's just not good. I don't know what's happening, but it's not good.
Did the pitcher get hurt?
No. His bases loaded.
Son of a.
Where'd Dane go?
Hey, I'm back.
Dane disappeared, so I took him out.
There's
probably want to go pour himself a scotch.
I think
I just love how Paul wants to get away from any controversial thing. Like with his Clemson Georgia game pick, he was like, I'll pick last. He waited till like the last second. I'm still torn. And he just said, Georgia. You got to make a pick on this, Paul, between Stetson and JT.
No, Paul's not making it because it's his overreaction show, and he doesn't want to make a pick.
No,
he
it's
doesn't want
not
to
that.
overreact on his overreaction show.
No, it's that I wanted everybody else to get their takes in and me play devil's advocate, and my internet kicked me out. I couldn't hear a word Roddy said, so I have no idea where he went.
Your power went out, your internet went out. I mean,
well, Roddy says he's unsure on the decision making who's better between JT or Stetson, is what he said.
Well, Dane, what are your thoughts then, Dane?
Yeah, that's.
Ask me a targeted question, and I'll answer.
I mean,
First of
so
all, go Braves, right? Let's go.
Yeah. So, first off, big 34-7 win, Dane. You were over there watching with Coach Donnan and Brent. What was the consensus from you guys on the quarterback play today? It's been the topic of controversy. If you scroll through on this comment section here, Dane, that you can see on the side, tons of people asking about the quarterback conversation. What was the conversation like with the Watch Along show?
Probably, I think, pretty accurate to at least what I've seen is that there were 2 or 3 just like ridiculously horrible throws that do get your team in trouble when you make those throws. 2 of them were interceptions. They didn't turn out to be very costly. In a lot of games, those do become very costly. However, it doesn't stop the conversation there, and I think that's like the mobility is a big deal. Florida was rushing 3 or 4 guys a lot and like crashing the pocket and making Stetson run immediately.
What?
And I think
that
in the first and second quarter, if you have a quarterback that can't move, then that's probably going to be a 3-0 halftime score. I mean, that's what I think. Now, there's no way to confirm that. As a whole, when I look at the spectrum of this, I've been pretty consistent on it and saying I don't think Georgia has like an elite, great, top-notch quarterback. I don't think Georgia has a Heisman guy. Never have. I don't think Georgia has a future first-round pick. In fact, I'd be stunned if either of these guys played in the NFL. Hardly at all. If they do, maybe it's like a 5th-round flyer. Like that's where I think Georgia is. So, like when you look at these teams that Mac Jones did this with Alabama, or Joe Burrow did this with LSU, or you go back further, you can find a lot of these. Like Georgia does not have that. What do you do from there? And I think that's what they're trying to figure out.
I think that's what's got fans so scared, though, is that you don't have a Mac Jones, you don't have a Joe Burrow, you don't have a Tua, you don't have a Deshaun, and you don't have, Trevor Lawrence.
There's no other team in the country that has one.
Correct.
That is the good thing where Georgia sits this year. If they had to have a elite quarterback, then they probably wouldn't win it this year.
Well,
but they have an elite defense, and
there's one in Oklahoma.
Williams. Yeah,
he was
their team
last week against
Oklahoma's a team that's not very good, Roddy. Let's just be real here. They're not a good team. They have a great quarterback, not a good team.
But he's not quite there yet. You see the potential there of like, oh, that guy. Now that can be fool's gold because I've hopped, right first into that turd with DJ Uyunglele last year. It's like, oh yeah, it's a game. Look at that. And then here you go this year, and he can't like put one foot in front of the other. So
can he be Georgia's quarterback next year? Just saying.
They're not going to take a train. Oh God, don't start that.
Who knows?
But God Almighty, don't do that, Ben.
Roddy would want to speculate that, so got to do it.
But no, I guess that is, I think, where a lot of people's anxiety and frustration kind of comes and stems from this, is that the last 5 quarterbacks are all starters in the NFL, and Georgia just doesn't have that right now, Dane. And like you said, nobody really has that. Is this the year that changes and it goes to a more defensive mentality? I'm just curious, if you think Stetson is the guy that could potentially beat Bama, or like Ben said, maybe even beat Auburn if needed. Auburn might jump in there. But just your take on it. Trent, you've got me hooked on this Braves game behind you right now, trying to ask Dane these questions, just so you know. Anyways, if this doesn't get monetized, Dane, blame Trent. But no. What's your,
all right, so let me get some definition around this, because like it's a common argument. So when we're saying, can Stetson beat Bama, are you asking me, can a Georgia team with Stetson Bennett at quarterback beat Alabama? Because I do think that answer is yes. Now, are you asking me, can Stetson Bennett go throw 5 touchdowns for 450 yards and no turnovers against Alabama? I would tell you no. I don't think either. Like, people think it's got to be one or the other, and I don't think it is. Like, I think Georgia can beat Alabama with a really solid Stetson Bennett game where he takes care of the football.
Now, do you feel confident enough?
Can Georgia beat Alabama the way Stetson played today?
No.
Potentially, I mean, it wouldn't. But see, if he throws 2 picks like that, probably not. But like, I don't think that's the second deep pick that was just dumb. Like, Georgia's not going to be in a situation where the scoreboard looks like that against Alabama. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it would be way more conservative before then anyway. So, like, it's kind of hard to compare that situation to that potential one.
You know what? They should do more post routes versus just throwing it on a vert, because he always throws it inside on those deep balls. And that's where he connected with Ladd versus Bama. They should do more of those because he seems more comfortable and connects on that more efficiently, to me.
My whole point is that's what's going to be revolved around this. I don't know if Kirby, were you able to watch the press conference, Roddy, or were you doing photos?
I was actually doing photos. He did say he stuck with Stetson out of consistency because JT had just come back practicing this week. So that'll extend it another week. Oh, yeah, well, he just wasn't quite ready yet.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing to keep a quarterback out of the transfer portal.
Well, I mean, that's I guess what we're getting at too here is a lot of folks are wondering, is he fully healthy, or when does this change?
Oh, he's fully healthy. He's healthy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So then when does the narrative change from Kirby Smart, from the head guy, and this is open to all for anybody to answer here, when does the narrative change to just say, damn it, Stetson is my guy. All right, I'm riding with Stetson. Quit asking about JT. Instead of just this like lukewarm, yeah, we're trying to work him back in. When he gets worked back in, we'll work him back in, but he's not worked back in yet, so we're just going to keep working.
What would he gain from that? What would Georgia gain from that if he did it?
That's my question.
Paul, he hasn't had a dominant game yet, though. Like, if he had like a convincing, like, I'm throwing for 404 touchdowns and I'm just dominating, then maybe, okay, you have a justifiable reason because he's dominating. But he hasn't had that game. He's looked good.
Stetson's never going to have a 300, 400-yard passing because they're 35, 65% pass run with him at quarterback.
Yeah. And he doesn't think he should if he does, because they're beating Florida 35-7 with 2 horrible interceptions. And so, like,
chicken or the egg, because Dane's pointing out, it's like you're doing this well. You're putting up crazy numbers, with that. But why you don't need it? Because I keep seeing people say, well, he hasn't had a 300-yard game. Well, hell, you weren't running the ball like you were with JT in there. So
did he last year?
Why it only goes one way? Yeah, against the 4 shittiest teams in the conference. Everyone keeps bringing up last year, and I'm like, okay, let's bring up last year
in a game. I don't know if he passed for it or not.
You talking about Stetson? Stetson?
Yeah,
no. Does Stetson have 300 against
like passing in a game last year? I don't know if he did or not.
No, I don't think so.
No, but everyone got all excited that JT had 300 yards, in the games. I'm like, yeah, but those are bad teams.
But
if you want to give him credit for that, give him
JT
credit
looked
for
damn good in them.
All right, let me ask
against
you this,
bad
Paul.
teams. But then, how do you look against Cincinnati and Clemson?
Stetson did have
200 one touchdown, 2 interceptions against good defenses.
Stetson did have 200 yards passing in the first half against Alabama.
Down 5 of your top 6 receivers versus Clemson against the second best D line.
Whoa, no.
I love it.
Who does Stetson have?
But Clemson game, that's an outlier.
Oh, he didn't have his wide receivers. Yeah,
he
didn't
did.
have them either.
Roddy, he only had one guy with 5 catches the previous season.
Stetson is doing this with Ladd McConkey, who most people didn't even know was on
the squad. McConkey's your top receiver versus Andrew Booth.
He is your top receiver now. Nobody knew who the hell he was before the season started. And you're throwing it to another freshman tight end and to A.D. Mitchell. He's not throwing to last year, you had a healthy George Pickens. And that's who JT Daniels was throwing to.
And the pass game was good last year when he was healthy.
Because you had good wide receivers.
All right, let me throw this question out there. Do you think that Georgia's defense bailed out Stetson Bennett today?
Absolutely, yes, 1,000,000%. Yes.
Do you think that Georgia's defense bailed out JT Daniels against Cincinnati?
Yes.
Didn't he throw?
And Clemson.
Hold on. Didn't JT throw for like a massive amount of yards against Cincinnati?
He had about 400.
He threw for a lot of yards, but Georgia also scored 2 offensive touchdowns. And today Georgia scored 3 offensive touchdowns. So my question is, what is the damn difference? Is it Is it like the stats? Because if that's the case, then like fans are getting caught up in dumb stuff of like, oh, this is not going to look as good on a stat sheet. Win the damn game.
Yeah, that's it. I keep saying Stetson hasn't thrown for 300 yards, but he's winning football games because he makes the running game better. Oh, well, we can't win running the ball. We have to be able to throw the ball, and it's going to hurt recruiting. Okay. Yeah. Kirby's not worried about that. He's worried about winning right now. Again, it's two different philosophies. If you can run the ball and have a strong defense and you have a quarterback that makes it better and who could throw the ball to keep a defense honest because they're trying to, they won't load the box against you, he's probably going to stick with Stetson.
Right. I think the fan argument is because if you played Ohio State and Alabama, let's be real here. They have such good talent on the outside. They're bound to put up some level of points. In the 20s at worst, they might even put up low 30s. You're not going to be able to run the ball and put up 40 on those defenses in a playoff game. You're going to have to throw for a bunch of yards in those games.
You've blown every team that you faced out of the water. You've not had
Ohio State and Alabama are far above those teams, Roddy. No, wait. This is one argument that no one's brought up, which I can understand for Stetson. If Zach Calzada, coming off being terrible the previous 2 weeks, could put up that performance, Alabama's defense is probably susceptible. And yes, Stetson, I think, is at least on par with Zach Calzada, if not better. So I understand that. So maybe, yes, Stetson might be able to beat them. But I don't think there's a big gap between them. All I'm saying is, in terms of the passing game, and I told you this earlier, Roddy, Stetson has thrown more interceptions, and he's made a lot more like really dumb decisions.
He's also thrown more touchdowns. So why do you only count one half of his stat sheet?
Well, because when it comes to the
because you have an agenda.
I told you last year, no, it's not an agenda. Versus Alabama, Stetson singularly lost that game. Let's be real here. He threw 3 interceptions when they were.
He doesn't play defense?
He doesn't play defense. He turned it over 3. Roddy, they were up 24-17.
So he makes tackles now, too.
3 picks.
So if it's a turnover,
Roddy,
you don't
have
have to tackle anymore?
He threw 3 picks and guys were open. That was terrible. And against Kentucky, he was a joke.
All I know.
He was a joke that next week against Kentucky last year.
All I know is if it would help wide receiver recruiting. We're going back to recruiting because that's what I'm talking about. And Florida could throw the ball last year, and they ain't worth a damn in recruiting. So it doesn't help recruiting. So
That's true.
I think Stetson and JT, by most fans, are graded on different scales, and that frustrates me. It's like that. I think JT gets a lot more credit because he came with 5 stars and Stetson didn't, or maybe because he's taller and Stetson isn't. But like, you can't look at that Clemson game. Like everyone's like, well, what about when Georgia plays Alabama and Ohio State? Well, Clemson's defense is of that caliber, and JT Daniels didn't score a touchdown on.
Yeah, that was a bad game.
And Georgia's offense too didn't score. It wasn't just that JT didn't go for a touchdown. The entire offense was stagnant in that particular game, and that's probably the best defense that Georgia would play this year. So, like, if the competition's not getting stiffer than that, I think Stetson could have also not scored a touchdown against Clemson. I do believe that.
But the point is, he's like Stetson. Okay, Stetson had a bad day today. He had good days other days, but good days in other games. But those aren't brought up. It's only the times when he does poorly that people are like, see, I prove it. So you have confirmational bias. You only point out when he does bad stuff. That scramble that he had today, that was pretty damn impressive. Again, that throw to Brock, that little sidearm thing, that was pretty impressive. But he also made some stupid throws. Again, I don't know if JT would have been in there if they'd have put up 50 points. But a lot of times you're calling off the dogs, you're just running the clock. You're not trying to score downfield. People say, well, Georgia's not scoring enough points. Well, maybe if they had to, they might open it up a little bit more. So, again, I don't know. I don't care.
Stetson screwed up a couple of times today, but I also thought that Todd Monken did not call his best game of the year either.
He did not.
There's some personnel stuff that was weird. So, like the John Fitzpatrick running deep on the one side for that like first awful pick, and then even in the second, like, do you want A.D. Mitchell being the guy that far downfield based on this point in the season? Like, I think Trent hits on a really good point that like it's probably as much of a receiver issue as a quarterback issue right now, and maybe that doesn't get rectified until Pickens gets back. And you
brought up Arian Smith being important. I do think they need Arian Smith because he just stretches the field where these other guys are not getting that much separation deep downfield. I think I only saw like 2 plays. I thought Kieris, I think Ladd had Ladd one time, but the other picks, like he didn't have separation. I mean, the receivers didn't. I mean, he didn't have a chance on it.
How did Florida do against Alabama?
Put up a ton of points.
Well, here's the thing: it's Roddy. That is a good argument because
they lost by 1, right?
Well, Roddy, here's the thing about Bama.
They went for two. They went for two, and they could have tied it if it had Mullen not called a crazy read option play.
Right.
My thing is,
so they went toe to toe with Alabama, and you just beat them 34-7.
Y'all need
Roddy, you're going to use the transitive property in football because
I'm just saying no. Well, see, everyone's using hypotheticals.
It does not work, Roddy.
What's going to happen when Alabama faces Alabama? Well,
why is everybody talking about Alabama? Like you don't even have Alabama on your schedule. Alabama is going to play at Auburn for the SEC West Championship, and that is going to be tough. You might see Auburn again.
Yeah,
and if you do, who beat Auburn?
Georgia's defense.
Yes, okay.
Who Roddy you said was barely going to beat Auburn. I'm just saying.
I think, guys. This is exactly what I want.
You barely haven't beaten Auburn.
I think I pretty much 3 or 4 points?
And Florida today. You only had 10, and it was 28.
Only 10.
I want to hear the confidence.
Oh my God, only 10. Ooh.
I think both sides.
A 2-score victory.
I know we're talking about Alabama and Ohio State a lot, but both of them are one loss away from being eliminated. Both of them got a loss. And Ohio State's got tough games. They got Michigan State. They got Michigan. So I think they got Penn State too. And if that quarterback if that quarterback comes back, then that's a tough game. So
they're losing 7-3 after the first quarter.
I think State. Georgia, you need to take care of business the next 4 weeks and let chips fall where they fall, and stop talking about Alabama because Alabama hadn't clinched. Who cares if you can beat Alabama if Alabama's not even on your schedule and they don't even make the SEC championship because they're not even going to be a part of it.
I think Oregon and Oklahoma are going to take 2 of those spots. Okay, so I don't see a 2 SEC teams making a playoff.
Old Mel Tucker in Michigan State. Old Mel Tucker up there at Michigan State. I'm just saying.
Look, you want to talk about Stetson?
Hey, I'm so happy for Mel Tucker. I'm going to go light a cigar just for him.
I mean,
I don't know about Oregon. The Pac-12 is
y'all talk about Kirby Smart all the time. Jim Harbaugh just hands people games.
My brother's a diehard Michigan fan. It was not good today talking to him.
Don't you just love when Jim Harbaugh loses?
God, he was up 16, and I looked at my wife. We were watching the game. I said he's going to blow this lead. And don't you know it? They come down 2. I called it. 2 touchdowns.
I remember people in the media said he was worse than his brother, and that still pisses me off that people think that Jim Harbaugh is on the level of his brother John, who beat him in a Super Bowl. That still upsets me.
But I just remember khaki pants coming down to Georgia to recruit, wearing these, basically going from town to town, putting on the.
He also spent the night with the kicker.
Didn't he hide in like a tree or something one night?
Like spend the night in a tree house. Yeah.
They drove that dadgum RV looking thing that the big bus down the Savannah for Demetrius Robertson.
They sent the equipment van down there, and then
I thought that was Notre Dame.
Did the Hank Aaron jersey, and the next week it was another pro sports jersey, whatever city he was in, and talk about taking their teams international, just all this.
I mean, you put Dan Mullen and Jim Harbaugh in a room, and it's just dumb as hell.
You put them in a room, you light it on fire, and lock the door.
One thing I do want to mention, and Paul, you can kick me off whenever you want because this is your show.
No, man, go ahead. I'm loving it. I'm not even talking right now. This is exactly what I wanted. So,
Georgia fans are going to be talking about this quarterback stuff for a while, and I'm sure we will too because we run the site and it's an important thing. So we should talk about it. However, Georgia just kicked Florida's ass. That game, though it was close early, the defense with those turnovers late in the half, just strangled potentially Dan Mullen's coaching career at Florida. It could turn into that.
What's their record now?
Wait, Roddy, can we ask you, me, Paul, and Trent talked about this earlier. Can we ask you and Dane, what are your thoughts on Dan Mullen's future, this season and next season?
I think he'll be there next season.
I think he fires Todd Grantham and probably Christian Robinson. I think the whole defense staff might be gone.
Yeah.
But I think that is his one morning, basically. We're going to use these guys this year. My fallback. Rick did it. I mean,
every head coach has that buffer.
Yeah, right. and you're either going to turn the corner or you're going to, turn that $7.5 million
If he loses another game, his seat gets super warm because that schedule is terrible down the stretch. So if he loses to South Carolina or Missouri, I don't see that. They're jokes.
If they lose either one of them, he should be
You
fired.
can't lose to Florida State. You cannot lose to Florida State.
Oh, good
Clemson.
call.
What was the final score at that?
30-20. Clemson put up 30 in a game is surprising still, though.
Okay.
They barely beat the spread. That spread was 9.5. I almost
Georgia
took,
ain't played nobody.
But I went there to say, like, man, I was born in Georgia in 1989, which means I'm a child of the 90s. And if Georgia fans don't take a step back and relish what today was and what it means just like historically and the gap between Georgia's program and Florida's program, that's just like a crazy missed opportunity just as a fan to really sit there and relish in what this is. Because, like, I mean, I grew up a Georgia fan. I think I'm pretty objective now as a reporter. Like, I see what I see. And I have a lot of friends that, like, they live and die by this stuff too, right? And, I mean, but here's where my objectivity ends. I don't like Florida. I don't like Gainesville. I don't like any experience I've ever had around stuff with that. If I have the hatred experience, it's that one. And so, like, fans absolutely must take this opportunity to say, today was fun, and I'll worry about tomorrow. Now,
I think that might be what Kirby's doing. You know, he's gonna.
That's me for Tennessee, probably.
I've
I've never been being confronted in a Maryland bar by a Tennessee fan with an Eric Berry jersey on, almost ready to fight last weekend. I'm like, I'm shocked he didn't hit me with mustard or a golf ball, but you know, those Tennessee fans are the worst.
You're old enough to get in a bar, Ben?
No, he's like 12.
Yeah, I've been old enough to get into a bar for about a year or so now, but
Look at his mustache.
Yeah, it's coming in.
Yeah, I try to shave, but yeah, these Tennessee fans, they're just too obnoxious. I'm sorry. I don't know about Florida fans. I haven't had too many interactions with them, but these Tennessee fans are worse and they're everywhere. I'm sorry.
Speaking of recruiting, I don't know anybody, this ain't a recruiting show, but Julian Humphrey, who was a Florida.
Yes.
Did y'all see his tweet after the game?
Did you see his tweets throughout the game, laughing at Florida the whole time?
Did he commit to do some work?
Like he straight up laughed at Florida the whole time,
Yeah,
laughing
the whole
emojis.
time.
Like, why would you do that play? That was so dumb. Oh my god! Like, yeah, I was just waiting for him to commit. During
But
the game.
Florida had 2 top 100 players committed, and they're both about to probably end up in Georgia.
But-
that is really bad.
But he put
if
after
Nolan
the
gets
game.
fired, that's why.
He put after the game. He liked what he saw.
Hey, you're talking about recruiting. I just saw a note from Corey Bender, the publisher of the Rivals site for Florida. It says UGA currently has the #1 recruiting class in the Rivals and finished 5th last cycle. You know, which out of character for Kirby to finish top 5, yes, but not #1. Kirby's slacking because he had 3 #1s prior to that. He points out that for Florida right now, they have the 35th ranked recruiting class
Behind Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
in 2021 they were 11, in 2020 they were 7, in 2019 they were 8th, in 2018 they were 17th. So we're talking about who keeps his job. If you wind up, plus 20 in the 20s in this recruiting cycle, when you've only had an 8, 7, and 11 prior to that, now yeah, you can fire your coordinators, but is it going to get better when you're maybe signing the 7th, 8th, 9th best recruiting class in the SEC?
But see,
It's
like
not gonna get
Miami
better.
has a trash recruiting class too. So like, then you have to be like, where are these Florida kids going? Because it ain't
Everywhere.
One of them's coming to Georgia.
So here's some tweets from Julian Humphrey. I like what I saw 1
Singletary.
hour ago.
No, Danny, not a single top 20 kid from Florida is going to Florida. Not a
Julian
single
Humphrey
one.
during the game. Oh my God, OMG. Where was he? Had some. Oh,
He deleted them.
Yeah, he deleted them. I was gonna say he had some really good ones.
Oh,
during
then
the
he
game.
was releasing the truth, and then he had to be like, oh,
Yeah, he pulled it
Keelan
back.
Walker said he's eating some gator right now.
So I tried to find him. But guys, overall, I think Georgia fans
Hey
should
guys,
be very-
they're going to kick me out of the
All right,
press room
see you.
here. I got to bounce.
See you, Roddy. Overall, guys, I think
Penn State, Ohio State right now. Oh, Penn State's beating Ohio State.
Yeah, I think so. Overall, guys, I think Georgia by far and away, and Georgia fans should be extremely happy. 34-7 over those Florida Gators down there in Jacksonville. And what's the name of the stadium now? TIAA Bank Field. It's changed 17 times since,
That's a
5 years ago.
the Everbank. A lot of banks.
Yeah, the Everbank. Yeah, there was that one. There was another one too, though, in between or right after that. But I think there's going to be a lot of questions. And I think that is what a lot of folks want answers to is, who is going to be the quarterback moving forward? Was this Stetson's last game? Ben has been on me. Trent's been on me. Dane, you haven't been on me. Thank you. But you guys want to know my take. I think that if JT can come back and be healthy, I think he's your quarterback. I would say thank you to Stetson for what he's done. But I think the offense, in my opinion, moves better with JT. I feel like if you need somebody to throw for 300 yards a game, JT's your guy. It might, and we talked about this prior to in weeks 1 through 4, I feel like, or whenever JT played. It seems like so long ago. But we talked about it. The running game was a little stagnant with JT in there. The running game is now going with Stetson. So overall, you have 2 ways you can go about this. You can continue to play Stetson. Your running game is probably going to be a little bit better. You've got more mobility with Stetson. But at the same time, if you are really trying to win a championship and you need a guy, 2 minutes left, you're down by 4, you can't kick a field goal, you've got to go down and score. JT is, in my opinion, JT is that guy. That's who I would want behind center to make that drive. And I think that kind of all boils down to the running game for Georgia. I think will continue to be fine if JT's if he's behind center. It might slow down a little bit because obviously Stetson has the wheels and can make some more RPO reads. Those plays are going to go away. What you're going to gain, though, and what you're going to gain from JT is that long ball, that ability to kind of – it just feels cleaner, if that makes sense, guys. And so that's where my head's at. I could be totally wrong. Stetson could be the guy that leads you there. It will be a hell of a story. You can make a movie out of it one day. Walk on. He goes to junior college, comes back, gets a scholarship, becomes a starter for Georgia. But I think realistically, if you have a 2-minute drive at the end of the game, JT is the guy. And if it's wrong, I'm wrong. But that's just where I'm at. So that was my take on it. I wanted to save it until close to the end of the show, but that was my take.
I agree.
What I would say is I think it's a fallacy about like the deep ball thing. Like Stetson has thrown enough deep balls that he has proven he can throw the deep ball. He also can that deep ball where the second interception looked pretty terrible.
No, one quick thing, I'm going to say something really quick. The one thing that nobody brings up about JT, well, actually everyone sort of does, it's not today, is health. I don't think he's ever been 100% healthy, but also that's a concern is his health.
But
so
quarterback is.
If he's 100% healthy, who knows what he really is? Because he's never been fully healthy since he's been at Georgia.
I can assure you that Stetson Bennett's not 100% healthy right now.
Yes, agreed.
I mean, so no quarterback is going to be 100% healthy.
Yeah.
Yes, he's been bit by the injury bug. I mean, little nagging injuries, but every quarterback has them. I think it's the pain tolerance of are you wanting to go play with that pain? But besides the point, top 20 recruits in Florida, 2 of them are committed to Florida State, 1 committed to Florida, and 9 to Miami.
What
were you saying, Dane?
AT can throw a deep ball. Stetson can throw a deep ball. Stetson can throw an inaccurate deep ball at times. We saw that 2 or 3 times today. He can also throw it on the money. So what I'm saying is like it's not an ability thing. It's like a consistent
decision-making thing. I think he just like today there was just 2 poor decisions. Especially on first down. Throw it out of bounds.
The fact that he came back from that terrible first decision and then threw that like pro quality throw to Kyrus Jackson for that touchdown, like that is the thing that makes me think, maybe this is different. Like this is the thing that's improved since last year. Like, so I think that's an important point with it. The other thing is like, I think we have to look at the reality of the situation. Is JT Daniels like healthy enough to play right now? Kirby says yes, he's healthy enough to play. I guess the only thing right now is practice, right? We've reported JT Daniels is healthy. If that's the case, then you just played your biggest rival in a game that really mattered. And Stetson Bennett played the whole game, even after throwing 2 awful interceptions. So if that's the case, what it tells me is that Stetson Bennett's already quarterback number 1. And if he loses the job, it's because he played poorly or he got injured and then JT's ready. Now, I don't know if that's fully – like, I'm not in practice. I don't see that. The only other thing is, like, well, JT's rusty. But, like, Kirby said he could have played today. Like, he said that in his news conference tonight. So, to me, the decision appears to have been made. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, I was just saying on the deep ball, Dane, JT talked about this before the season. I think he was on ESPN with Trevor Maddich about the deep ball. Last year when Georgia was terrible on the deep ball and then JT went in, JT said this was the thing. He said he underthrows some deep balls, so he gives his receivers a chance sometimes, like when he shorts it. Stetson, that's why I think Stetson's either overthrows or they're perfect. When you watch his deep balls. With JT, the reason why they're always at least right there is because he underthrows some of them, and at least they have a chance on it. I think they both have the ability. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that that's one thing where Stetson rarely underthrows those, and JT will underthrow but give his guy a chance.
He underthrew it by 10 yards the second throw.
Yeah, that one, you can get back to the first Ladd McConkey against Auburn. That was an underthrow. But, like, as my daughter turns off the lights on my back porch.
It's hell.
We can still see you. We can still see you.
But JT Daniels underthrew Arian Smith twice against Cincinnati. Like, neither of them are, like, pinpoint down the field like that. It's just, you know, like some of this is a receiver thing too.
Yeah, and I think a big reason it looked like Stetson's his problem was deep ball. One of his problems was deep balls. Today was timing on his throws. He was holding on the ball too long, and I think he does that some where he throws it way too late. He had the receiver open right off the bat today on that play action, and he underthrew the ball. I think it's a lot.
I guess I'll put it this way. If Stetson didn't get the hook today with those 2 mistakes, I don't see him playing bad enough against the level of competition in the next 4 games to get the hook then. So then to me, if he is indeed QB1, as if today appeared that that's the case, I think he's QB1 going into the SEC championship.
I agree. I don't think he's going to play bad. These next 4 games, he's not going to play bad against those defenses. There's just no chance. So I agree with you on that.
So like, if the thing is, he's got to play poorly to get pulled. Well, that ain't gonna happen the next 4 games.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think he played because it was his 31st birthday this week. So, happy birthday, Stetson!
All right, guys, I gotta run mainly because
see you, Dave. Yeah, man.
Fellas.
Bringing in Dave McMahon and Patrick Garvin.
That is 2 fine-looking folks right there.
Well, this guy is.
Well,
hey,
thank
can y'all
you.
hear me?
Of course, yes, Patrick.
Okay.
Yeah, you sound really. Oh, you sound old right now, Patrick. Yes, we can hear you. Yes,
You look kind of old too.
Thanks, man.
Hey guys, can you hear me out there?
Hey, I feel old, man.
Nah, you look great. You got a date lined up tonight, PG? What's up?
Man, are you kidding me, man? This is Roddy's got me working all night, man. There's no dates on Saturdays in the fall.
Dave has
There's no
dates on
weddings,
Saturdays
there's
in
no
the fall.
dates, right? Is that how it goes?
Man, I had 2 weddings. One was my sister's on Saturdays. But guys, we're kind of wrapping up the show. We've got about 10 more minutes left. Get you guys' opinions on things. But
let me just talk about the opponent real quick, because Dan Mullen's always been. I remember in 2019 and in 2018, he kind of said didn't give Georgia a whole lot of credit after those 2 victories. And I just wrote some notes. This time around, he did. In fact, in his opening remarks, he said a couple times he gave Georgia a lot of credit. One interesting thing was that some reporter asked him, what's the difference between a team like Georgia and a team like yours? And he said, well, we were better last year. They were better this year. And he then asked the reporter, what do you think? And the reporter goes, do you want me to answer that? Like, and it quickly just kind of went away. Like Mullen mumbled something, and then he didn't. The reporter didn't wind up giving his opinion, but he was real high on the defense. And one thing he said, that Georgia had a good team mindset. That's how they were able to probably right there before the half. The turnovers, the mistakes. Whereas it seemed to me that his team didn't necessarily have that mindset where the offense feeds off of the defense like Georgia has. One thing I will say that Dameon Pierce, who was Florida's leading rusher, he didn't necessarily give Georgia a lot of credit. He basically said that we really gave it to them by shooting ourselves in the foot. So, I know
they did shoot themselves in the foot. 3 touchdowns pretty much unanswered right there, turnover-wise. So.
Damien's just trying to be Bainbridge's favorite son, and with Kirby there, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Patrick, before we let you go, man, I know you got a ton of writing and stuff like that to do. Stetson or JT, man?
You mean if I had to pick now, if both were 100% healthy?
Both are 100% healthy, man. You're going into Missouri next week. JT or Stetson?
Man, I'd go with Stetson just because I think he's proven along the way. I think the mobility thing is a big deal because I don't think JT has any mobility, if I'm being honest. Okay. I think Stetson is a good bit. And however, I think you would keep him on, I don't know if I'd say a short chain, but a chain, and if
he wasn't even on chain today.
What's that?
He wasn't even on chain today.
No, I know. They just let him loose, right?
Yeah.
No, but I think you go with Stetson, I would think. I mean, right? What do you think, Dave?
I agree with you. You go with Stetson, but a very, very short chain, like the size of the chain that like Jordan Davis brings out to every game. But
that's a big chain.
But JT is the much like you're all talking about. Stetson was able to scramble this and that. I think JT would throw the ball before that would ever happen. I think he would have made a decision and got to it and threw it a lot harder. I like JT a lot as a passer, but like you said, he's no scrambling ability. He didn't have scrambling ability last year. It's going to be even worse this year.
Yeah.
So we got 2 Stetson backers here, boys.
But I like JT as a thrower. I think JT is a much, much better thrower.
Yes.
But I think you need a scrambler for a part of your offense right now.
What's been the consensus, Paul? Like,
JT.
A couple of people have always been on the Stetson bandwagon.
But the consensus are you saying it's split, Paul? Me and you are. I lean JT. You lean JT. Paul. They lean Stetson, and then
Trent leans JT. I think.
I'm like 51-49.
And
I think it's close. I think both have a case. Like I said, I think decision making and consistency with JT as a thrower. And then I think as the run game is significantly better and it opens up your offense in that way with Stetson. So it depends. If you value one over the other, that's who you got to take.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
I just think that, and this might change your outlook on it. Maybe, I don't know. I think Georgia's defense can hold them in any game for both of you guys. I think their running game can hold them in any game for the rest of the season as well. Only concern is your 2-minute drive. You're down 4 in the national championship game. You want Stetson back there, or do you want JT?
That's a good point.
I'll take JT back there.
So that's where I'm getting at is if you want JT in that situation, you've got to at least get him some game reps between now and then.
Let James Cook do an 80-yard run.
I guess you could do that too, but you got a 2-minute offense. I don't know if you want to focus on the run too much.
I didn't realize Sean Clifford was back tonight.
Hey, can I ask? You're talking about the defense, and Ben, you always ask me to do a trivia question for you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do like those. Yes.
Can everybody here go? I know one of you can. Can anyone here go back to 2010? Is that too far from you?
That's a little tough. Tough. We'll try.
Ben was 7. So
yeah, Ben was Ben was 5.5. I think he was.
According to Paul, I was like 4 years old.
All right, 2010 was the last year that Georgia had 3 pick sixes in a season. Can you name the 3 guys who had the pick sixes?
Oh God,
I think I can name at least a couple of them.
Dominic Sanders
is not right.
2010.
Was Sanders Cummings one?
That is not correct.
No.
Brandon Boykin.
Brandon Boykin is not correct.
Wait, was this in 2010 or since 2010?
In 2010.
That
was the last time they had 3 pick sixes in a season.
Yeah, I was going to say Bakari Rambo, but Pat said it first.
Bakari Rambo is 1.
Vance Cuff?
Vance Cuff is 2.
Wow, I would not have gotten that at all. Who's the third, Dave?
Oh,
no, don't say it yet.
Who'd you
Justin
say?
Houston, or was
No.
that fumble?
Nope.
That was a fumble against Tech.
Just think of the hitman.
The hitman.
Greg Blue?
No, that guy. Speaking, we had an interview with Thomas Davis this week, and apparently, like Thomas Davis always jokes around with Greg Blue, and I mean, you've all said it too. He goes, most of your hits, you had been targeted and got a big old penalty and got kicked out of the game.
Oh yeah, Greg Blue would have played in like half the games in most years.
It was funny meeting with Thomas Davis this week, and he's a pretty outstanding guy.
Jakar Hamilton.
Jakar Hamilton. There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
You looked that up, Trent. You're looking literally at your phone right now. There's no way.
I'm
There's
literally
no
watching
way
the-
in.
He said the hitman. Jakar Hitman
Yeah.
Hamilton. You don't remember
There
him?
you go, Trent.
Oh, I do remember
he
that.
did listen.
Yes.
I'm watching the Braves game.
Yeah. So also, like you mentioned about the defense, this was the fewest points that Florida scored under Dan Mullen was this game. And
really?
When Dan Mullen was at Mississippi State, it was like 4 games that he allowed that he scored only 3 points, and one of those 3-point games was against Georgia as well. So I don't know why Dan Mullen doesn't give Georgia any kind of credit, because some of his worst games ever were against Georgia.
Damn.
He's a different kind of dude. But anyway, hey guys, appreciate you having me on.
PG as always, man.
Hey, by the way, Patrick Garvin had a pretty good talk with Tavares King this week. If you want to go back and backtrack in 2011, the Georgia-Florida game was pretty good. Patrick and I did a pretty good job. I think Patrick and Tavares did most of the work, but I did what I could.
And Patrick,
man, you did plenty, man.
Patrick also has a new book out, guys. So hit up Patrick on Twitter and get his new book as well. So
appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
All right, man. All love. See you, man.
Care. We'll talk to y'all.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
I saw a stat that I sent you this week that was on CBS today.
Which was
the snap counts.
Yeah, they used it. I appreciate it. That was a nice little help. Thanks.
Hold on, Trent. You got a stat? You got a stat on the game?
I got a stat on CBS today. I sent it to Dave, that popped up, and I was like,
"Yep." I
my
put a
life's
little
complete, right?
TS on the bottom of it.
You know what Dave needs to get a stat on? That was the longest handshake Kirby and Dan Mullen definitely had. We need to time that one up, Dave, to see. That was unusually long for
Dan was hugging. He said, "Can I come be your offense coordinator?"
Yeah. If I get fired this year, can I?
He was giving Kirby his number. I might need a job, and your offense needs a little boost.
Well, did you? I mean, he'd be the next guy that would be part of the Georgia and Florida, like both playing on both sides. You see that graphic with all those guys?
Yeah, I saw that. Was that your doing, Dave?
Yeah, it might have been me and stuff.
But I heard Kirby's
Johnny Rauch one. I didn't even think about that one until I did some extra research, and he was the quarterback coach in the 50s back when I was like a junior in college.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ben was not even, his grandparents weren't even born yet. So
if you go back and look at that handshake hug after the game, and
Mullen, and time it.
And Mullen was asking me, if you read the math, that Kirby said, "Hell no, you do not recruit."
Oh man, Dave. Any before we wrap this show up, any stats from the game that just boggled your mind, that just jumped off at you?
Obviously, I mean the total. Florida came in rushing like crazy, averaging over 250 yards rushing game. They had 161, so that was a good little stoppage thing right there. I mean, Stetson had more rush yards. He had more rush yards than any of the 2 Florida quarterbacks, which you expected one of the Florida quarterbacks to do some stuff. Let's see. Florida actually outgained them in yards. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did. I pointed that out. 355 to 354.
Yep. And speaking of points wise, also 2004 points that Georgia went over the 2,000 mark in the history against Georgia. History against Florida. So they now have 2,004 points. Florida has 1,673, so it's a little bit of an advantage in that.
Oh, a little 400-point swing.
In games wise, it's 54, 44, and 2. I still don't get why Georgia did not put this the 100th meeting anywhere in their notes. It's a kind of a cool little round number. I mean, Florida's going to say it next year, I bet. If you look at Florida's notes next year, because they don't agree with the total, I bet they have a 100 in their games. The 418 consecutive games now that Florida has scored kind of bummed me out. I was hoping that they would, like Georgia would stop that streak at 417. It's kind of weird because if you remember back in 2017, Florida scored with 2:42 left. So it's like basically the same kind of situation. Like 2 times in the last couple of years, Georgia could have had ended the streak, but they didn't. Georgia ended the Tennessee streak a couple of years ago. I don't know if you knew that. Like Tennessee had the 6th longest streak of all time, and Georgia ended that with like 260 something or something like that. So Georgia could have ended 2 big streaks of a lot of orange.
Could have, but they didn't, Dave. And
they didn't. But you know what? I'm still. I mean, being a Georgia fan, I'm still proud of the team. I mean, they still have some work to do, but I'm pretty proud of that team because I've seen, like Roddy has mentioned many times. There's a lot of sad games that Georgia fans saw. And
hell,
now,
didn't Corey Smith make a song about riding back from Jacksonville?
I stopped listening to Corey
Pretty
Smith
sure
a little while ago.
Wait, Dave.
I'm not a 22-year-old frat boy. So.
Dave, if Georgia would win these next 4 games, when was the last time Georgia went 12-0 in a regular season?
12-0 in a regular. Well, there wasn't 12 games because Georgia's only had a 12-game season in they haven't had 12-game seasons. I mean, that 12-game seasons are kind of a recent, within the last X amount of years type of thing. So 11-0 seasons, like I would think it was like 82, I believe, was that the last year.
So the answer would be none then, right?
Yeah, 82, they were 11-0, and then it happened. Yeah, so the only time they were ever 12-0 was that 1980 season, and that counts the Notre Dame game.
So the last time they were undefeated prior to like the conference championship, I guess you could say, was 82.
Well, there was never the conference championships only started in 1992. There was no conference.
Oh, okay.
Basically, who had the best record in the conference was the conference champion. So 92 was the first conference championship.
Mm-hmm.
The More You Know by Dave McMahon.
There you go.
All right, Dave, we appreciate it, man. We're going to sign off here, and we'll talk to you next show.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Dave. All right, guys. We touched on the quarterback a lot. 2 hours of talking. Trent is ready to watch this ball game. Ben, do you watch baseball?
I like the Orioles, so
yeah, that's why I brought it
up.
Yeah, you're definitely not watching baseball.
Not looking too good there.
He hasn't watched baseball since Cal Ripken, and he wasn't even born when Cal Ripken was playing. So.
No, wait, you guys had Nick Markakis, right?
Yeah, we had Cakes.
Yeah, I remember he was like one of my favorite players. I was definitely at least younger. I was in
second grade,
middle school, middle and high school when he was here. Yeah, but Nick Markakis, he was probably one of my favorite players. Now he went to the Braves, so I'm definitely pulling for the Braves over the damn Astros. Screw them.
There you go, buddy. There you go. Well, guys, it's been fun. It's been real, but it ain't been real fun. So 34-7, Georgia over Florida. Appreciate all the guests stopping by. Dave McMahon, Patrick Garvin, Blaine Gilmer, Roddy Nabolsi, Dane Young. I think I hit them all. We'll see who the quarterback is next week. I think it might be JT. If it was me, it would be JT Daniels. But I'm not the quarterback's coach. I'm not the
prediction for next week, Paul. It's gonna be a tough one.
Against Missouri, let's predict here. Let's do this. Let's predict the spread next week. I'll keep this spread. Ben
41. I'm going to go that heavy.
What the hell are you talking about? 41.
Mizzou is awful.
Look,
Georgia will win that game by 50. You want to bet? I'll bet they win by at least 50.
Y'all remember a couple weeks ago when I told you that spread was going to be 18.5 and it came out on Sunday it was 18.5?
Yeah. Ben just said 40. What the hell are you talking about?
They barely beat Vandy. Are you kidding me?
41.
It's gonna be at Georgia. No, there's no way. No way they keep within 40. No way.
No, this is the spread from Vegas.
Oh no. There's still the spread's gonna be 40. I'm sorry.
41.
Vegas it has to be dumb if they don't put that at least 40. Missouri is bad. They are bad.
Trent, give me your spread, man.
What for the
Georgia Missouri game? 41? What the?
I don't know. 41.
No.
Whoa. I don't know. I would say 30. I would say closer to 35. I don't know if it'd be 41. 41 is steep.
I'm 28.5. 28 and a hook.
Oh, it'd be more than 28.5.
Oh, that'd be more than that. What are you talking about, Paul? It's definitely closer to 40 than 28.
I mean, they were 24.5 open against Kentucky it's going to be in the 30s, but I just don't know.
Paul, Vegas only gave them a 2-touchdown favorite against Vandy.
True.
Hey, Georgia
All right,
beat
guys.
by 60. Could have beaten by 80. So
I'm starving. So I got to get this up onto the podcast so folks can listen to it while they're riding around in their cars on Monday. Ben, thank you for hopping on with us. Trent, thank you for hopping on with us. As always, both of you guys. This is the Postgame Overreaction show, most well known as the POS show. I'm your host, Paul Maharry, and we thank you guys so much for watching. If you could, before you log off real quick, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're not already a member of our YouTube page, and we're trying to get to 20,000 before the end of the season, guys. So we appreciate everybody watching. Hopefully we gave you guys enough banter. JT Daniels should be the quarterback, though. That's how I'm ending it. We'll see you guys.